right now.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Would that be considered a defensive spell?
I think that would be a miscellaneous one.
I'll
So.
be quiet while you start.
Oh no, it's already started right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Because I would see striking people unconscious as kind of a defensive action, but I can also see it being miscellaneous.
Offensive.
Also.
Yeah.
It is offensive.
Let's see.
What?
Wizard spells by school. Abjuration. So there's protection from evil would be a really good one.
Possible. Yeah, protection from evil is always good.
The one alteration. Let's play dancing lights. I want to reduce events. Malicious retreat. Fatal fall. Fire burst. Fist of steel. Fudging jump. Last thing first. Light and dark message. Shocking grace. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna give him protection from evil. And magic missile. And then maybe color spray. His breath weapon is very similar to color spray as well.
Well, is that good or bad then?
Well, I don't know. Color spray might actually be stronger than his breath weapon. I'd have to take a look at it. But armor.
There are just a lot of useful general spells.
Yeah.
Like light. What's his vision status? I don't know the vision status of Patch.
Dragons basically have ultra vision.
Okay.
So.
He doesn't need that.
Yeah. Let's see, dragon senses. So their senses are they're 10 times as good as elf senses. Click of erasing. See the abilities, dragon efficiencies, dragon abilities. I can't remember where it mentions dragon senses.
Of course, he's a hatchling, right? He's a brand new baby.
Yes.
So he wouldn't comprehend languages. Wouldn't make sense.
I think he's less than a week old in game. Let me check his birthday. He's like 11 or 12 days old. He was born November 7th, so he's less than... I think he's 2 weeks old today in game, because it's the 21st now. So he is brand spanking new. Just came to life 2 weeks ago. What the hell? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
The settings for my rollerball thing got reset.
Yeah, I'm logging into game.
Yeah, that sucks. It's gonna take 10 minutes to load again.
Yay, no, boo!
Yeah, there these rollerball things. The default setting for the up and down buttons is forward page, back page.
Ugh.
So
Well, then why don't you tell me about dragon hatchlings then, in
um
general?
so there's like crystal, or there's gem dragons, there's chromatic dragons, and there's metallic dragons, and each type of dragon is a different morality alignment.
Hmm.
So the gem dragons are neutral, the metallic dragons are good, and the chromatic dragons are all evil. Chromatic dragons are named after a color, so you've got red, black, green, etc. And then the gem dragons are literally named after different kinds of gems, and the metallic dragons are literally named after metals. You got gold, silver, copper, brass, and each type of dragon has a smaller, like a really large subrace, physically large, and then a really physically small subrace. So, like the chromatic dragons, the smallest chromatic dragon is the white dragon. The smallest metallic dragon, I don't remember. It might be the copper, maybe. And then the smallest gem dragons are the crystal dragons. And George chose the crystal dragon, which incidentally is the smallest true dragon in the game. Like,
Oh, cool. Like when it's full grown, it's still the smallest of all. So he's going to be a
yes.
wee little baby thing, and then he'll grow
And
up to be kind of tall.
also when they're born, they are the smallest. They're the smallest hatchling as well. Um, they start off approximately 1 foot long. So their eggs are probably the size of an ostrich egg.
Yeah.
They're really small eggs. So, and then they can get as big as, like, I think the largest egg is probably about the size of a horse. So all the dragon's eggs range from about ostrich egg size to an egg literally as big as a horse. Red dragons and gold dragons are very large hatchlings. I think gold dragons are larger hatchlings but smaller great worms. Like the red dragon is the biggest great worm of them all, I think.
So it grows bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. When it reaches its maximum age, it's the biggest dragon. The red, which is incidentally one of the evil dragons.
Evil.
Yeah. And so a dragon player character is very similar to a monster dragon. They have 12 age categories. Their breath weapon damage is a function of their age category. So each dragon's breath weapon is 2 dice plus their 2 dice per age category plus 1 damage per age category. So, what I mean by dice is different types of dragons use different size dice for their breath weapon. Usually, the smaller dragons use D4s, and the larger dragons use it's either D10s or D12s. I think it's D12s. And they always do 2 dice plus 1 damage per age category. So a hatchling will do, like a really small hatchling will do 2d4 plus 1 damage because
Hmm.
they're age category 1. And then when they get to age category 2, they'll do 4 dice plus 2, and then 6 dice plus 3, and so on and so forth, on up to age category 12, where they're 24 dice plus 12.
Yeah. Don't want to deal with that guy.
Yeah, that is a lot of damage. Probably able to kill the strongest player character in one shot from their breath weapon.
Now, how does this is interesting, because how does this contrast with them as a class? So you say, he's going to be a mage. He's going to level as a mage, I assume, right? Not just his age category, or no?
No. So dragons, technically, their class is their subrace of dragon, and then their kit is like dragon mage or true dragon or dragon psionicist or dragon cleric or yeah. And then there's no such thing as a dragon warrior. That's just the true dragon is a dragon warrior. So they don't even call it a dragon warrior. It's just a true dragon or something to that effect. I forget the exact terminology. But most dragons eventually, at different stages in their life, they will usually get both mage spells and cleric spells, pre-spells. And the different dragons get, more or less cleric or mage spells, and at different times. So they're all very unique. And then some of the dragons have those in addition to psionics. Incidentally, the gem dragons are the psionic dragons.
And so like a crystal dragon, or
yeah, crystal dragons and amethyst dragons and emerald dragons, and they all the monster versions, they have psionics, and then I think most of them also get wizard spells and cleric spells at some point in their life, and some of them are better at cleric or wizard spells depending on which dragon. So there are dragons that have all three: cleric spells, mage spells, and psionics, I think. So that would be...
That's a badass dragon.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Don't screw with that. Screw with that guy.
Right. That's a lot of powers to tap from. So
now, has your thing loaded back up yet?
No. Nope. It's still going. Yeah, I think it usually takes about 10 minutes. Oh, there it goes.
Like, I'm sure we can find some more things to talk about. I've never played in a campaign where we had a dragon PC. So for me, it's going to be a whole new thing as a player character to have a dragon member of the party, even as a tiny, tiny baby hatchling.
Right.
So I've only ever dealt with them as monsters, and even then, not that often. Most of my DMs didn't pull out the dragons. They would rather go with something else, maybe something a little more obscure.
See, I can't understand that. Like, I cannot play Dungeons and Dragons and not put in dragons and not put in dungeons. I can't do that. I mean,
you're a purist.
Yeah, for a couple sessions of doing upkeep and having spending time at the bar, I can handle that.
Yeah.
For a couple of sessions, and then after a while, it's like, can we get on with it?
Can we get to a dungeon, please?
Can we get to a dungeon, please? Like, I want to dungeon master. That's why I'm doing this.
In an actual dungeon.
Yeah, with maybe possibly some dragons, maybe. So, oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Now, I was going to say, having a dragon as a PC is a new thing for me. And so, what is something, that how does that change the balance of a party to have a dragon as a player character, even a hatchling?
Okay,
how does that change things? Yeah.
So it all depends heavily on the type of dragon that they choose. So, because a lot of the dragons, there's a huge variety of how powerful they are when they're born, and how powerful they can get when they get to age category 12. So their levels they work differently than regular player characters. Their dragon age is literally their level. Okay, so a level 1 dragon is always a hatchling, and then a level 12 dragon is maximum level. They can't get any tougher than that. And depending on which draconic race they choose, they will level up faster or slower. So for example, we used to have a dragon PC that was a silver, and when she was born with 9 hit dice. So we're talking about essentially a level 9 character that is born level 9. Okay? And then with each time she gains a level, she gets 2 hit dice. So at age category 12, she's got 22 plus 9, so 31 hit dice at max level. That is a lot of hit dice. And by hit die, I mean you literally roll the die that many times, and that's how many hit points they have total. So 31, and their hit dice are always 8-sided dice, because they're technically a monster. So 31 d8 hit points at maximum level. That's a lot of hit points. On a d8, the average roll is 4.5.
Yeah.
So 31 times 4.5 is a lot of hit points. That's well over 120. So, and then crystals, when they're born, they're a lot weaker. They have four hit dice when they're born. So, but so the silver, when she was born, she had to gain 750,000 experience points before she could get to level 2. So she was a silver. That's one of the more powerful dragons. And when she was born, she was as big as a horse. Okay, so she's on the large end of eggs, and she was very effective in combat when she was born. Now this crystal, he has 4 hit dice, so his saving throws aren't going to be as good. His breath weapon is still going to function the same. So it's not going to do much damage, just like the silver's breath weapon didn't do much damage. But the silver had 9 hit dice, so she counted as her Thaco was really good because of that. So she counted as basically a level 9 fighter. Whereas this crystal, he is a wizard, so he has level 4 wizard Thaco. So his Thaco is garbage right now.
Yeah.
He's gonna be useless in melee combat for a long time. He's gonna have a breath weapon when he's born though, so he'll have that, and he'll be able to fly, and he'll have I think 3 attacks per round. He's got no, right now he just has a bite. So their bite always does a certain amount of damage, but they add their dragon level times 2 to the damage, I think.
Ooh.
So
yeah.
He does bite damage plus 2, and then as soon as he gains a level, it'll be bite damage plus 4, and so on and so forth. So it can really hurt eventually. And then,
but he won't have to get 750,000 XP to get to that. Yeah.
Because he chose a smaller dragon, he only has to get like 8,000 experience points before he can gain a level. So for dragons, it works similar to players. They have to gain experience points, but they have actually 3 requirements, not just experience points. So they have to gain They have to gain the experience points to gain a level. Then they have to be of the appropriate age to gain a level. And then they also have to accumulate enough treasure to gain a level.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly sure how much treasure he's gonna have to gain before he gets to level 2. But it's I think
any
it's,
one of those could be a choke point for his leveling, though. If he doesn't get
yes.
the treasure, then
Yeah.
he
And
just sits there on the edge forever until he does.
Right, and I think that the the choke point is essentially going to be time.
Yeah.
So
No, because we get a lot of XP
yes.
in the dungeons that we've been in. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's never going to be hurting for XP. Like he'll essentially always have enough, eventually he will always have enough XP to gain a level.
Yeah.
And treasure, he just has to get a certain amount of magical treasure and a certain amount of monetary treasure to get to the next level, and it's not a whole lot. I think it's just like a couple thousand monetary treasure, and then a couple hundred XP worth of magical items, and then you can gain a level. But I think for him it's going to be time. So I think that a crystal hatchling has to be like a year old to get to level 2.
Oh my word! Yeah.
Yeah. So
I've been playing in your campaign almost a year, and we've gone about a month in time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's going to be a real choke point for him unless we do some serious downtime where everybody sits around on their thumbs for 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and there's no time sensitive, currently no time sensitive adventures in the campaign world. So, technically the characters could do that. I'm not sure why they would want to do that, but because they don't have anything to do really during that time,
Yeah.
other than the wizards.
Go ahead.
Other than the wizards can, of course, research a bunch of spells.
But nobody's got a trainer that they can go for, like, master level training.
Yeah.
And there are very few people who have the funds with which to build any kind of strongholds or anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're not quite there yet, but I mean, it could happen soon.
Right.
Some of us are kind of on the cusp of it.
Yeah. So,
within the next year, it could happen where we all say, okay, we're all going to take 6 months and go build our strongholds now,
Yeah. And that's actually another thing about dragon player characters is whenever they gain a level, they have to sleep for 1 month per level they're gaining.
Wow.
So if they get to level 2, they have to sleep for 2 months.
Yeah.
And eventually, when they get to age category 12, they have to sleep for an entire year.
Yeah.
And while the character is sleeping, the player actually plays another character which is called Kindred.
Okay.
And it is a character that essentially takes care of the dragon's business while the dragon is adventuring. And while the dragon is sleeping, they sleep on the dragon's business, their treasure, right? And the kindred goes out and adventures. So George, the player for this dragon, he originally was playing a half-dragon character.
Yeah.
And before he was removed from the campaign, I told him that he could come back eventually once he gets his computer fixed and everything, which he did, and he's back now. And I allowed him to use his former character as his current character's kindred.
So, good.
Yeah, so just so he didn't have to make a new character, because kindred in the book are there. You have a choice of 3 races. You can either be a gnome, an elf, or a dwarf. And, you know, I thought it would be more interesting if he just played his old character as a kindred, rather than force him to make a gnome, an elf, or a dwarf.
Yeah.
And the reason it's only those 3 character races is because kindred have to live a really long time.
Yeah.
And those 3 races do live a really long time. Elves live for hundreds of years, as do dwarves, and I think gnomes can live like almost as long as most dwarves do, or whatever. So, and it's the base race. There's no sub race. So if you played an elf, it's a high elf. If you played a dwarf, it's a hill dwarf, and if you play a gnome, it's a rock gnome. It's really, really straightforward, cut and dried. So
Limiting.
Yeah, it would be. I don't know. I thought it would be kind of boring for him if I made him, you know, make a rock gnome or a, you know, a high elf or a hill dwarf. So I was like, screw it. You can play your old character.
Well, that's good because we have, you know, except for gnomes, we have high elf. We don't have a gnome. Yeah, we have mountain dwarves, but still, I mean, you know, this is something, a half dragon is something that we just don't have.
Right.
So it's good. Pretty mixed and interesting, so.
Yeah. So far, the player character party hasn't gone to where gnomes are really common in Panoplia, which is northeast Panoplia. So there haven't been very many gnome NPCs.
Yeah.
So, and currently none of the player characters are gnomes, because frankly, I think most players don't really think of playing a gnome usually, although gnomes do have some really cool perks, like the gnomes are the only player character race that I know of that can be multi-classed with any 2-class combination.
Yeah. That actually appealed to me. I wanted to do that in another campaign. I wanted to play a multi-class gnome with 2 classes, and actually the DM shut me down, and it made me sad because I thought that would be fun.
Yeah.
I'd never played a gnome. I thought it would be a great opportunity, but it just didn't work out.
Gnomes can actually be a cleric thief.
Yeah. And why not?
And I think there are only like 2 or 3 races that can do that.
Yeah.
I think the other one might be not a beastman. They're called what are they called? It's a humanoid that is really ugly. Let's see. I have an NPC.
You're not talking about like a mongrel man.
Yeah, mongrel men I think
There
can
you
be
go,
cleric thieves. And then the other one might be the tiefling, but I don't remember what the third race is.
Cool.
Those might actually be. Oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna run to the potty, and then when we come back, now that you're back on, we can handle the business.
Yeah.
But it's good that we had, this kind of conversation, because this is really informative for me as somebody who's never played with a dragon character in the campaign.
Right.
Even though my player character is going to be totally ignorant because he's never seen a dragon before.
Yeah, you haven't seen a dragon yet.
He's never seen one. He's the closest he's come is that half dragon.
Right.
And he thought that was the coolest thing ever. And so now he's going to be like, oh, a dragon, So I'm going to run potty and then I'm going to come back. I'll be right back.
Okay. Kindred bond.
Alrighty, I'm back.
Okay.
I have a question, and just satisfy my own selfish curiosity on this. He's a dragon mage, so he's going to have mage type spells. Is he going to be able to share his arcane spells with other arcane casters in the party the way, or no?
So he, unlike other dragons, he actually has a book of magic because he's a dragon mage. So yes, yeah.
So and he can copy our spells as well.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then copy would be a really dang useful spell for him to have. If
Oh
you're looking
yeah.
for spells.
Yeah, that was gonna. I forgot about that. That was gonna be the spell that I gave him actually.
Yeah.
For
That's
his miscellaneous.
so useful.
Yep.
Otherwise, we're sitting around for days and days.
Yeah, and I want to eliminate that as much as possible.
Yeah. So that should clearly be his miscellaneous.
Yeah.
To have an attack, a defense, a miscellaneous, read magic, and detect magic. 5 spells.
Yep.
Okay, and so we'll have read magic, detect magic, copy, an attack spell, and a defense spell.
Yeah. So, magic missile is what I was going to give him for his attack spell. So, they use their hit dice as their casting level. So he has 4 hit dice. So at level 1, he has 2 missiles.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
And then, what were you thinking? The defensive spell, protection from evil.
Yeah.
That's a really useful spell. Yeah. Now, will he have the same spell slots as a 4th level caster, or will he have the same spell slots as a 1st level caster?
So their spell slots work differently. They have their own table, which
Where's
is
that table found? If I'm looking on Purple Worm.
It's in a book called Campaign Option, Council of Worms.
Oh, that's not available on.
No,
Purple
you'd have to find either a PDF or get the book, or there's also a box set for Council of Worms.
So
it's a campaign expansion. So
okay, but it's Council of Worms.
yeah, Council of Worms. And I think technically it's supposed to be part of the Forgotten Realms, because it's got Io's Blood Isles in it, and I think that's somewhere off the Sword Coast. But I'm not absolutely sure. But the rules in this campaign expansion are, usable in any campaign. For any DM that's willing to have dragon PCs, which I am, because I don't mind some player characters being, really powerful, and it's all just as long as everyone is playing the thing that they always wanted to be. That's what my campaign is about. I let people play whatever they always wanted to be.
And it's created a really interesting party.
Yeah.
We are a very mixed party, and very different characters. When you look at who we are, we have these mountain dwarfs, we have a pixie, we have a drow, we have Anatar.
Superman. Anatar is basically Superman.
yeah. And then we have James's character, Varen, who's an Asura.
Yeah.
Right?
Asuras.
Yeah, Asuras. Asuras.
Yeah, I think that's how they let's see. I have the Outer Planes appendix from.
Dude, you have it all.
Well, not everything, but I did spend a lot of money in the early to mid 2000s on D&D books, which actually now that second edition is worth a lot of money, I got it all for a steal.
Yeah.
So I spent probably $3,000-ish on second edition books, and now it's all worth probably $8,000 or $9,000.
Oh, no doubt. Because I was looking at some 2E books just on eBay, and I was like, oh, and I would have held on to my stuff.
Yeah. Let's see if I
back
can
in the day.
find the Outer Planes appendix. Excuse me. Okay.
Get you something to drink. Come on.
Oh no, it's just dust allergy.
Well, hopefully that'll clear up soon now that fall's here.
Yeah.
I love it when the
Okay.
bugs begin to die. It's always nice.
So the Outer Planes appendix is one of the loose leaflet binder monstrous compendiums from the late 80s / early 90s. So I have to keep it in a 3-ring binder. But it has pronunciations for all of the weird like extraplanar creatures, like the diva, of course, is pronounced diva. Aasimon is Asimon. They're basically angels, and then the devils of D&D are the Beatizu. And then there's the Tanari, which are the demons, and there's the Yugoloth, literally YOU-go-loth, with accent on U. So Yugoloth. And then there's the Abishai, and the Agathanon, and the Alufiend, the Amnitsu, the Arcanoloth, the Archon, the Babayu, Balaina, the Balor, the Barbatsu, the Bariar, the Barelgura, the Bebalith.
I know those. Those are like the goat people, right?
Yeah, the Bariar are. The Bodak, the Cambion, the Lamasu, the Kazmi, the Cornugon, the Durgoloth, the Diva, the Dretch, the Enheriar. Aranyes is just no accent at all.
Yeah.
The Geralith, the Gelugon, the Gitzerai. So, in 5th edition, all the 5th edition developers that work for Wizards of the Coast, in the videos, they're all pronouncing it Githzerai. But originally, like, when the race was created, it was pronounced Gitzerai. Just GIT-SIR-I. Gitzerai. And
y'all
then
y'all need to learn some phonics. Hello.
Yeah. And then there's the Githyanki, the Glabritsu, the Hamachula, the Hetzrau, or Hetzro, the Hordling, the Hydroloth, the Lemur, the Malefont, the Mains, the Marolith, the Marut, the
Isn't the
Mediator.
Marlith the one with all the multiple appendages?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
It's a big snake woman with like 6 arms.
Yeah.
The Metzeloth, the Malidius, the Mortai, the Nabasu, the Nalfeshni, the Nightmare, the Noctral, the Naparibo, the Nikoloth, the Osiluth, the Piscaloth, the Planetar, the Rudderkin, the Slod, the Solar, the Spinagon, the Succubus, the Titan, the Tuenrin, the Ultraloth, the Vaporigu, the Vrok, the Yagnoloth, The Zoveri. Oh wait, the Zoveri. Sorry.
Zoveri?
yeah.
What's a Zoveri?
It is so if you take a Marilith and cut off the snake part and put on octopus tentacles.
Ooh.
And then make it lawful good and put it on the beach in heaven. That's what that is.
That doesn't
It's
sound
weird.
attractive. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So they're like a mermaid, but instead of part fish, they are part octopus. And they're both genders. So there's male
I
and
was about to
female.
say, and not in a good way.
Yeah.
You know? Not in a good way.
Yeah. And they're
So they-
lawful good and they live in heaven.
Okay.
And so apparently
I need
when
to play one of those. That'd be fun.
yeah. In second edition, when you go to heaven, the first layer of heaven is a beach.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've ever seen the movie called Contact.
I love Contact. Yeah, I love that. I love that book. Yeah.
Right. So when she speaks to her father,
Yeah.
she's literally on the second edition first layer of heaven.
First love room.
It's
Yeah.
just a white sands beach that goes on as far as the eye can see, and the sky is all dark, and there's beautiful multicolored stars all over the place.
Yeah.
And far off in the distance across the water, you can see islands with small towns lit in the darkness, and then behind you is a forest, I think. And the first time I read that, I was like, man, that sounds like the scene where What's-Her-Face talks to her dad in Contact. And then I watched Contact and was like, man, they stole that right out of the second edition D&D.
You know, Carl Sagan wrote the book originally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a good book. The movie was well done, but I mean, the book was better as always.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the movie. Thought they did it justice. But so Carl Sagan apparently loved to sit around and play some D&D.
Nice. I did not know that.
I'm just guessing.
Oh, okay.
Guessing. This
Okay.
is just my guess. Let's go. I'll hit Wikipedia. You can't tell me that dude
So-
never played. For real, come on. This is Carl Sagan we're talking about.
Yeah.
He's a nerd. He played D&D. Don't tell me he didn't. Come
Hell
on
yeah.
now.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. So, I mean, this is interesting. So these are all of these characters that you just described from this book, are they all available in your campaign to play as PCs? I mean, like, if I wanted to be a Marilith, you'd like totally be like, come on.
Oh, no, those are monsters. Those are
Okay.
monsters that you would fight against. So,
Okay.
some of them are monsters that you probably wouldn't want to fight because they're good guys, but
Yeah.
they're still in the book just in case player characters would run into them and maybe interact with them.
Or maybe people are playing evil characters and they're gonna
Yeah,
wanna-
yeah. So, sometimes you've got a party full of player characters that are evilly aligned and they want to kill angels and stuff like that. So you go to heaven and just start killing anything you found, including the octopus people, the Zoveri. Or Zoveri.
So very.
So right now I'm trying to find where it talks about dragon's senses, because
Okay.
there was a really good description of what exactly they can sense, and I think it's it might include secret doors and like invisible people and things like
So he's
that.
gonna be able to see Jessie. She's not gonna like
Maybe.
that.
I think I'm supposed to roll a check every time she's
Okay.
around him. So,
She won't like that. Yeah.
and actually I wrote a macro just specifically for that.
Sweet.
Oh, but I didn't get to save it. Shoot. Because my stupid controls are... And I actually need to change my controls again, too. Let's see. settings. Devices. I don't remember the name of the program that I used to change the settings on this thing.
I have much information to bring to you, but not that. I have many questions. And my question would be, what program did you use to do that?
It's a Logitech, and Logitech has an app that you use to change the settings on your Logitech hardware, and I can't remember the name of it.
You know, this happens as you get older, Josh.
Right.
I tell my little wee humans that I teach every day when they laugh at me about how I forgot something obvious. I point at them and I make an ominous voice and I go, "It will happen to you." You know? Yeah, you have this nice, fresh 9-year-old brain. Wait till your brain's as old as mine. You know?
Right.
It's so crammed full of information that I'm going to retrieve it, and it's like grabbing soap in the bathtub. It just squirts right out of your hand.
Aging, Death, and Beyond. Religion. So it must be before this. And of course, it's not in the table of contents.
Oh no, that would be too easy.
Yep.
Now, are there any characters as you're searching that you've allowed into your campaign and then later on you're like, never again will I let that creature, that monster, that whatever be a player character in my campaign again? It's like you realize that was too much. That was just too much.
Not a player character, no. Nope.
Yeah.
Not
Really?
even one
That's
time.
good.
Not even
Well,
one
that's
time.
awesome. What that means is that
Every-
you're good at judging when the player characters are doing your interviews and like weeding out somebody who wants to play too much of like a Mary Sue or whatever.
Well, okay, so I've had a lot of player characters in this campaign die. A lot.
Yeah.
I'm talking like maybe a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
I've had one total party kill.
Whoa,
I've had,
really?
Yes, I have.
Oh,
in this
that
campaign,
must have felt bad.
Yeah, it did. It was some really bad dice rolls, accompanied by, maybe a, like a somewhat chaotic evil character who wanted to take all the treasure for himself.
Yeah.
And so I have a friend that I was in the army with, and he loved to play evil characters, and he would just straight up kill other player characters sometimes.
Yeah.
And if they pissed him off. And it was funny because some of the other players would antagonize him just to see if he would kill their character. So it wasn't like a poor sportsmanship thing. It was, hey, I'm gonna troll this guy until he kills my character, and then I'll make a new one and just keep playing. So and it was funny. So he
sounds entertaining, which is hard for evil characters to do, but that sounds entertaining.
Yeah, it was very entertaining because he would essentially in character throw a shit fit and then go on a murderous rampage after usually one player in particular. Usually.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think maybe one other time it was somebody else, but it was usually this one guy.
Who just
And
poked the bear one too many times.
Yeah, he just he well, it wasn't one too many times. It was like 4 or 5 too many times because he went through about 4 or 5 characters.
Oh my god.
So this player got used to killing other player characters, and then there was this one point where a combat went kind of south, and he sort of went rogue, where he didn't really help out the rest of the group. He waited until everybody was dead and then kind of cleaned up after it. Well, he didn't know about trolls and their regeneration.
Oh,
so he was farming everyone's magical items after they had died, and the trolls started, slowly coming back to life, and one of them, stood up, and he was like, and started running, and the troll chased him down. So he was actually playing a human, and it was dark outside, and he didn't have a torch or anything. So I made him roll dexterity every round to see if he would trip and fall.
Or run into a tree or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, which he ended up tripping and falling because he eventually failed his dex while trying to get away from this troll. And needless to say, the troll, caught up with him and ate him. Just ate him. So, but it was like 2 or 3 NPCs that died. The whole party died. I think they had 2 henchmen and maybe 3 men-at-arms all died to a pack of trolls.
Oh, God.
And it was all because like 2 or 3 player characters rolled ones in the same round. It was all in like the first round. It all went south. 2 or 3 of the trolls rolled crits.
Oh.
And
of course, right when everybody else is fumbling and they've got the "Don't Hurt My Butt" sign on.
Yeah. So
they're rolling crits.
Yeah, it didn't go very well for the player character party, but it was all the fate of the dice. It was all the dice.
Well, the dice know. I mean, that's my personal opinion, is the dice know what needs to happen. Well, I'm curious about this because I know some DMs, Josh, will not allow evil characters into their campaigns at all. And I know you do. And so, I just love to hear your thoughts on, some people just want, at worst, neutral characters. Like, they'll let a chaotic neutral, which I think is the worst alignment in the game. I mean, chaotic evil, say what you want, at least it's an ethos, At least I know what I'm dealing with. But some people, at worst, they'll let their characters be neutral, but they won't let them be evil. So why will you let your characters be straight up evil?
So I am a very devious DM.
Yeah, no. Don't tell me something I didn't know.
Yeah. And when one player likes to mix things up for the other players, I find it extremely entertaining to watch. I don't participate, I don't reward, I don't encourage, I just watch and laugh.
Yeah.
And I completely allow, I have no problem with player versus player combat. I have no problem with this is what my character would do in this situation. I have no issue with any of that. So if one player decides, I think my character would try to kill this guy right now because he's finally figuring out this guy is evil, I have no issue with that whatsoever. Because a lot of the greatest fantasy stories of all time have instances like that. Lord of the Rings had that with Boromir. Boromir tried to take the ring from Frodo, and Frodo punched him and ran away while he was invisible. And there was some player versus player combat, and it enriched the story because of it.
It did, yes. And there's truth to that story because we all have those moments where we to our darkest impulses.
Right.
There's that's the thing you and I talked about. There's truth in all these stories that we're telling, And so I'm with you on that, but just saying, okay, I'm going to play a lawful evil character, and I'm
Yeah.
going to join this party. Which, I mean, look at our party. We're so good. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
You know,
it's a really
we're
diverse.
so good.
Yeah, it's a very diverse party.
But
there-
we're mostly goody two shoes, and so it's like you're wondering, what does this evil character? What are they going to get out of the experience? It's a bunch of goody two shoes, like Thrash,
Well, for one,
the most goody two shoes character ever.
any evil character, in order to maintain their alignment in situations where alignment questioning would come up, they would need to do the evil thing. I mean, let's face it, evil characters, they do the evil thing more often than not.
Yes, they do.
In order to be evil, that's what they got to do. So they would have to do the evil thing, not only do the evil thing, but in order to stay a member of the party, they'd probably have to hide it and do it where, the rest of the party can't see. Because, I mean, they have to be evil and they have to hide that information from the others.
Yeah.
So
if we knew, Varen knew there was an evil party member, he'd slay him immediately.
Yeah, because a lot of this party in particular is able to tell when people are evil.
Yeah.
So several of the group can cast know alignment or detect evil or true seeing, which shows the person's aura, and aura is an indication of whether or not they're evil. Like in my campaign, lawful good people have a halo around their head because their aura is circular because they're lawful. It's a perfect circle, and it's white because they're good. So I make lawful good people have an aura that looks like a halo around their head. And then evil people would have, like a lawful evil character would have a black halo instead of white. And a lawful neutral person would have a gray halo.
Or like Calamar has a jagged halo.
Right, so...
White. A bright white, but it's jagged.
Yeah. Calamar's chaotic good, so instead of having like a white halo, he has a jagged white aura around his head. So it's irregularly shaped. It's not a perfect circle. It's got some weird sharp edges in it and zigzaggy, it's very chaotic and maybe wavy in places. So
and then if someone's neutral, it's more of just kind of a
fuzzy, kind of hard to tell whether it's, more like a donut, maybe. Just kind of like a fuzzy donut. Yeah.
So true neutral would be like just a gray fuzzy donut.
Yep, just a gray fuzzy donut around someone's countenance. So. But I can't find this rule on Dragon Senses. It is escaping me. Maybe it's because I need to look in the actual box set and not in the book. Because they made a book out of the box set in 1999. I think the box set came out in 1998, and then they made a book out of it in the following year.
You're sickening with your knowledge of this stuff. I'm glad I don't know any of this stuff, because it makes adventuring so much more interesting. When I come across something and I have no idea,
Right.
Like we come across that mold in the Bother Doom. Was it a brown mold? That we came across?
I think, are you talking about the one that had psionics?
Yes.
I think that might have been a yellow mold.
Yellow mold, it was, because it was like yellow poop. And we're like, that poop is evil,
Right.
And it's attacking Azuro psionically.
Yeah, they had a psychic fight. So that's one of the reasons why I absolutely allow psionics and psionicists in my campaign.
Not everybody does, though. I
it's-
know some people
yeah.
are like, it's just too much. I just can't deal with it.
Right. I think most of the time it's because they can't quite wrap their head around psionics because it's pretty complicated.
Yeah, I tried reading the complete psionics handbook or whatever,
Yeah.
and it was like, I don't get it.
Right. So that is the old version of psionics in second edition. The new version is much easier to understand. So the old version had it was kind of weird. So psionicists have to be of sound mind and body, right? So they essentially have three stats that are important to them. It's intelligence, wisdom, and constitution. And the original psionics system, all of the powers had checks of different types depending on, what the power did. And they would use one of those three stats to check. So if you could, maybe have higher intelligence than wisdom and constitution. So you would be better at, intelligence psionics than any constitution or wisdom psionics. And you could thus, specialize in certain types of psionics and be better at certain things than, other psionicists. So there was a bit more, character customization in that regard. But in order to be decent at everything, you had to roll three really high stats, pretty much.
And who does that? I mean, who rolls three really high stats? I mean, unless you're doing some kind of special rolling procedure.
Yeah.
We just don't.
It's really it was really hard to be a good, decent psionicist with the old system. Not only that, but the system itself, as far as spending resources in combat, was really convoluted. You had to spend a certain amount of psionic strength points to activate a power, and then every round you had to spend a different number in order to maintain it. So the new psionic system, you just spend to maintain. There's no activation cost. So you just spend X amount of PSPs every round.
Well, that makes sense, though.
Right. And then they did away with the intelligence, constitution, and wisdom checks. Now you just have a mental THAC0. So THAC0 stands for 2-hit armor class 0. And every character has a THAC0 and a mental THAC0 and an armor class and a mental armor class. So it's much, much simpler now. Mental armor class is a function of your intelligence and wisdom and your level. And then your mental THAC0 is a function of your intelligence, wisdom, and level. And then your mental armor class is just a function of your intelligence and wisdom.
Okay.
So you can have a high intelligence and an average wisdom and still have a decent M THAC0 and armor class. And all of the powers... Or you
can have a nice of both of those, and then all of a sudden it's like, come at me, psionicist.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, and then you can be a psionic Superman.
Well, even if you're not psionic, then you're at least resistant to it. Now, at this point in your campaign, the only psionicist that you have in the party is the Kieran, right? I mean, with Saria out, that's the only psionicist you have at this time.
I purposefully made Saria available to the player character party just in case someone wanted to take her as a henchman.
Yeah. And no one did.
Right.
It's shocking. Well, Calamar's saving his last henchman slot because he only has 3 lifetime henchmen that he can get.
Yeah.
And he has 2. So he's saving that 3rd one for somebody really, really special. And damn it, it's not Saria. I mean, I love Saria, don't get me wrong, but it's not her.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not what was her hench, the one who stole the frickin' Kiona. Good God, it's not that sword stealing wench Kiona for sure.
Incidentally, Kiona started off as a player character as well.
Yeah. James had explained that to me.
Yeah, when the player found out that Saria was gonna take her as a henchman, she was like, "No, don't let it happen." So.
I was tempted by Gomo Jack. I've always loved Gomo Jack. I love Gomo Jack, but you know he's gonna save that 3rd slot. He only has 3 lifetime slots.
Yeah.
And I love the 2 he has now. They're so awesome. And even though Boogie Will is so average in a lot of ways, he's a really bright bugbear, which is unusual.
Yeah, he
for
has
bugbears.
Like above average intelligence.
He's smarter than Alluvio.
Yeah.
Which is saying something, you know, and so I feel like, you know, Calamar and Boogie Will can really accomplish something on this mortal plane.
He's the Yogi Bear. He's the Yogi Bear of bugbears.
Yeah.
Smarter than the average bugbear.
Smarter than the average bugbear. And so, you know, he in every other way he's just as boring as he can be. But I just feel like between the 2 of them they can accomplish something on this mortal plane that maybe no one else could. And I, you know, the thing that impressed me is the way that you showed that in the way when you were playing him as an NPC. Because if you remember, we were trying to deal with that whole like hallway of traps.
Right.
Do you remember? And we were trying to go through, and like Jezzy and I are like trying to disarm all the traps. We're like, she's like pulling springs out and flinging them everywhere. And freaking Boogie Will, an NPC, walks back and grabs a Hydra head and like just flings it all the way down the whole hallway.
And springs all the traps.
Right. And I remember as a PC going, that dude is smart.
Yeah.
You know, as a player.
Yeah. I think I rolled an intelligence check just to see if he would come up with that idea.
Yeah.
And I think he passed it, and
yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's brilliant. In the video. Yeah, it
really was. It was just a perfect way to show. And if I think I commented at the time, Calamar like turns around and goes, "Hold up a minute, this guy is smarter than he looks." You know, like hold on.
Yeah,
I need this guy. So I mean, it's interesting the way that you build your NPCs. Now, I am curious because I've never been in a party that has as many henchmen as your party. Encourage people to attract as many henchmen as we have, because at some point it does become unwieldy to have a huge number of henchmen and followers.
Yeah, so at some point a lot of the group kind of realizes, wow, we've got too many people, and they kind of stop trying to recruit henchmen. I think most people like to have one, so it all depends on how henchman greedy each person is. So they'll each decide for themselves, and some people, usually the ones who have more henchmen, are going to be like, damn it, these noobs need to stop bringing in henchmen for their characters. But the new player characters are they want to have at least one henchman.
Somebody.
So but there are alternatives to that. You can have pets, which they don't earn XP at all. There's hirelings. They're level 0 people that don't gain experience at all. They are always level 0, and they don't get any better. And
they don't take treasury, they just take a pay.
Yeah, they just take pay. So that's and it's usually they're usually pretty cheap. You pay for you buy them gear if you want them to have better armor class or better weapons. You pay for their living arrangements.
Yep.
So if you ever stop at an inn, you know, you got to pay for their room and board and all that stuff. You pay
gotta make
all
sure
their
they
expenses.
have mounts and
then-
stuff if you're traveling and
Yeah.
such. Yeah.
And then you pay them a net of 1 GP a month, and they're happy. So
But they're not progressing, you know, as
Yeah.
as characters, and they wouldn't be interesting to role play really because they're not really role playing characters.
yeah, well, the thing about zeroth level characters is eventually the player character party ends up getting so many magical items that eventually if you use hirelings, sometimes the hirelings inherit them from the player characters. The player characters are gonna be like, screw it, we've got like 5 suits of chainmail plus 1. I'm gonna start giving these to my hirelings.
Yeah.
And when that happens, that hireling becomes kind of a good candidate to become a henchman and start,
Yeah.
you know, gaining character levels. You know, you might want to start thinking about rolling stats for that character, and because you know, there's this 0th level hireling that's been with the group for a year or 2.
Yeah.
You know, eventually.
And now they're equipped with a magic item or two.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So
There's somebody
that's-
who actually could be somebody.
Yeah, they could be, you know, depending on what stats you roll for them, they could be a really good cleric, or you know, a really good fighter, or
So they do start out at 0 level, so they
Yes.
don't have any particular class that they're dedicated to. You can really kind of choose their path.
yeah, and
Oh, that's
maybe
nice.
maybe by this time you've started actually role playing them, like they have a personality and a
Yeah.
name, and you know, they've got a character sheet maybe,
Yeah.
and so that's
I love this guy now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Stan has been with us for 2 years, you know. He's the one that hasn't died. I'm thinking about making him a fighter, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Oh my god, both of my cats are at my butt right now for me to go feed them. Hang on, I gotta go feed the damn cats.
all right.
But yeah, I have 2 cats, Barkley and Seymour, and they're very dear. But when they are hungry, they are up my butt. I'll be right back. All right, cats are out of my butt.
Alrighty.
Which is nice. They're dear. They're very sweet souls. You know, if you have cats, you know. But oh my god, they can be so annoying when they want something. And they're
Yeah.
manipulative as hell. They're like, meow, 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 meow. And they look so pitiful, like they're starving to death, as if you didn't just feed them 4 hours ago. You know, they're like, meow, my food bowl is practically empty. You
Right
know?
now?
Right meow, exactly. Oh my god. So, what are you looking at now, Josh?
I'm rewriting the Dragon Senses macro because I wasn't able to save it before.
Save it. Oh god. Okay. So this is so much more sensitive than any other race's senses. elves have great
Yes.
detection of like secret doors and stuff. I love one of my favorite moments ever in a campaign was when Calamar walked around the corner and you were like, yeah, you see Scarrett, he's desperately searching for the secret door that's right there. Right there.
Oh yeah.
So you're saying, yeah, a dragon even has a higher ability than that. How much greater is their dragon sensey, like their spidey senses?
So theirs is based on a percentage chance. It is 35% plus 5% per dragon level. So
Oh,
you're
nice.
looking at a minimum of 40% and a maximum of 95.
Dude,
And then,
that's sweet right at beginning
Yeah.
level. Yeah.
yeah, 40%. So a typical elf, they have like a 1 in 6 chance.
Yeah.
So that's let's see, 15. So 33 divided by 2 would be 15,
Yeah.
16.5%
Plus some
Uh,
random decimal,
to passively detect a secret door,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and then a 1 in 4 chance, I think, to find one when they're actively searching for one.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then, so that's a 25% chance. So this
Mhm.
is almost twice as high as that.
Nice.
And this is both passive and active. So it
What?
uses the same percentage. Yeah.
So he just cruises by the door and he's like, hey, there's a door right there.
Yes. So
Oh.
at the beginning, it's only 40%. So,
But 40% is a
it's-
killer percentage
Yeah, it
for
is.
level 1. Hello.
Yeah. Every time he comes within, and the distance is much larger for dragons as well.
my God.
It is. I think it's out to the range of their sight. It's not just within 10 feet. It's as soon as they see it, it's boom. So, yeah.
So do you
that's-
think this character is balanced in that way? Because he does get so many advantages right off the bat, even though he's a brand new character. But what we were talking about with the choke points in terms of how he levels,
So
that's gonna slow him down
yeah.
in a way that it wouldn't slow down, an
normal
elf
character, right.
or a human.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think it balances out?
So, yes, I do. And the reason for that is the book that you get this character from has rules for creating dragon slayers. So
Oh hell!
yeah,
Okay.
one of the things that you're supposed to throw eventually at a dragon PC is, well, now you're being hunted by these dragon slayers, and you have this whole quest on, stopping the dragon slayers. And dragon slayers are really good at what they do. Like,
Yeah.
they will just straight up kill dragons.
Well, that's why they get the name. Yeah.
Yes. So, it's nice that they're such a diverse party, because he would really need help.
Yeah.
Stopping these people that hunt him down. So, and it doesn't really matter how strong the dragon is; they will just straight up kill dragons. They're really good at it.
Unfortunately,
So-
he's surrounded by a good party who'd be like, "Oh hell no, you're
Right.
not killing our dragon! Oh
Right.
hell no!"
Yeah,
And every single
Um,
one of them would be like,
and then of
going
course
up against.
the great equalizer in second edition is the saving throw versus death.
Yeah.
There are so many monsters that have saving throw versus death, or a saving throw versus poison, or die from, lethal.
Yes.
Injection
Oh my
poison.
God. The sudden poison death is like
Yeah,
the worst thing in 2E. Like,
Yes.
oh my God. And there's nothing you can do about it. Like, I have full hit points, and now I'm dead.
yeah.
It's just like that.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying. Yeah.
So, in my opinion, it's really balanced.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gonna gain levels, not as fast as, a normal character, but, and then he always has to worry about, you know, is there going to be dragon hunters around the corner. And then he has his horde to worry about. You know, you have to protect your horde, and you have to, you know, build a horde to gain levels, and then while you gain a level, you have to sleep. So you're not always playing the character. You have to play another character from time to time. So yeah, I think they're pretty balanced.
Well, I do feel, and this is the reason that I play 2E more than I play anything else. I do have a 5E game that I play in, but only because I really respect the DM, and I'm really enjoying that game.
Yeah.
And I'm appreciating what 5E brings, okay, in the ways that it's changed the game. But I do feel that 2E was a very well-balanced edition. It was more detailed. It was in the way it dealt with each class, with each with each race. You know, there was no, you can't just say, I'm going to play that and put your finger down, and now you're playing the toughest badass guy that nobody can kill. You know, there's no character or no class or no race that you can point at and say that's the badass one, which shows that the game is well balanced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, even a dragon is going to have to deal with some crap, you know? I mean,
Right.
Even a dragon is going to have to deal with the possibility of getting insta-killed. And,
yeah. Yep. And
you know, that's just the way it is.
With the silver dragon that we used to have in Solid Hex, that actually came up. She was bitten by a giant spider.
Oh,
and
good
so,
God. Okay.
Yeah, she had to roll a saving throw versus poison or just straight up die from a lethal injection. So
did she make her save?
Yes.
Yes!
Fortunately, the player, he chose a silver dragon, which the hatchlings start off with 9 hit dice. So he essentially, his character essentially had level 9 fighter saving throws.
Yeah. Oh.
So
nice.
level 9 fighters save versus poison is okay. I mean, I think it was like an 8 or something.
Okay.
And he rolled exactly 8.
Oh,
it's
God.
in an old video on my YouTube if you want to watch
it. Can you imagine? Like, I'm sitting, my heart right now is just like pounding.
Yeah.
You know, because as attached as I am to my character, I cannot imagine, you know, like making that freaking, okay, like save versus poison or die. Oh God, no. You know?
Right. Yeah.
I'm at full hit points. I stayed back. I was trying to be safe. What? You know, but that's real. You know, that's real life. I mean, that's the game. Mm-hmm. You know, nobody is safe. You know, anything could happen. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine D&D without that either. Like trying to run like a 5th edition game that has races that are this powerful, but there are no instant death attacks that the enemies have. Then nobody is weak. Like, right? Nobody has a weakness really. I mean, it's all just strengths and how much strength you have.
Yes, it was so interesting because I was on, you know, I'm on Reddit. You know, I'm a Redditor. I'm a total Reddit nerd. And I was on the D&D subreddit a couple weeks ago, and I read this person talking about how there was the player, and before she would join the game, she had to have a personal guarantee that her character would not die.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And
yeah,
I'm like,
a lot of people can't handle it.
I'm like, what? I mean, that's not realistic. I mean, I have no guarantee that I'm not going to step out and like go to work tomorrow and get hit by a bus. You know, there's no guarantees.
And then there's always the argument that, you know, I don't play D&D for realism.
Oh, please.
But then, I mean, if there's no, you know, risk of dying, then
Yeah.
there's no real struggle. You're just essentially floating in a kindergarten for D&D
Yes.
players, right? Where you're
Yes.
well protected and no, there's no risk of dying. So
I can't imagine trying to play a character where there was no risk of death. It's like I'd just be like, if I knew my character couldn't die,
yeah.
I just run out there every time. I mean, I would, instead of doing what I do, which is hanging back and trying to hide,
Yeah.
you know, like trying to protect myself, because my character has no hit points and my character's weak as crap, you know.
Yeah.
I can't just get myself out there. Like, if I knew my character wouldn't die, I'd be out there beating on everything with a stick from the front lines.
So the cool thing about D&D is there are a number of different ways for a character to come back to life.
Yes.
So many different ways.
Yeah.
You have
it's
wishes?
harder for an elf, but still. Okay.
Yeah, you have wishes. Wishes will bring people back to life.
Even elves.
Even elves. You have reincarnation, where you can reincarnate a dead person and they'll come back as like a different race or whatever, but they'll
Will
have
that work
the
for
memories.
elves?
I think so. I think so. Then you have.
But what happens if, like, you reincarnate as a gnoll or an orc?
That's actually the reason why TSR made the Humanoids Handbook.
Oh, nice.
They made that book specifically for characters that were reincarnated as a race that is intelligent and has the technology to create armor and weapons.
Yeah.
So trolls don't fuck with fire, right?
Yeah.
Because it's their natural like weakness. And so they don't do any armor or weaponsmithing. And they're kind of stupid, so
Yeah.
they don't really make a viable player character race at all. But almost everything else on that list, the reincarnation list from the spell reincarnate, that isn't an animal, that is, almost everything else is smart enough to make weapons and armor. You've got orcs, you got half orcs, you got gnolls, you got flyns, you know, you've got minotaurs, you know, all those races will fuck with fire, and they have settlements and cultures and families, and they have technology, or at least enough technology to make weapons and armor.
Yeah.
So they should be player character races, and so TSR was like, well, let's do this book.
Yeah, which makes sense, because, you know, if I can play a drow, why shouldn't I be able to play a gnoll? Why shouldn't I? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, Wish Reincarnate. There's Raise Dead.
So Raise Dead is the one that you were referring to regarding elves, so it will not work on elves. Elves are completely foreign to the power of Raise Dead. I'm not sure why, but Raise Dead.
Because they don't have, according to my understanding, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Josh, is that elves are different in that they don't have souls. The way that humans and dwarves and other creatures do. Am I mistaken?
Well, I guess according to the Elves Handbook, that I think that is true. They when they die, they don't actually die. They stay in the prime material plane until they get to their venerable old age, and then when that age comes, they're supposed to go to this place called Arvenath.
Yeah, that's the Tolkien. What's that called? Oh my God,
Heaven.
Tolkien. You get on the boat and you go to the. Frodo got on the boat and he went there. So did Bilbo.
Yeah.
The Grey Havens.
Ah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Which is Yeah, the kind of image of heaven.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the elvish heaven or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's it was renamed by that one particular author. Like he wanted to call it Arvenaeth, but
Yeah.
its real name is Arvindor,
Okay.
and it's actually a place in the Planescape campaign.
Oh, well, that's interesting. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
So
Yeah.
you can actually go to Arvindor.
Or another area in Planescape.
Right. So
Yeah.
Planescape is a campaign setting that's all about traveling to different dimensions. And so we have the prime material plane, which is the place where Earth and Toril and all the campaign setting
Solanod
planets are.
Hex.
Solanod
and-
Hex.
Yeah.
And then you can go to other dimensions like heaven, hell, the abyss, Elysium, Olympus, all these other places.
The prime material planes?
No, those are the outer planes.
The outer planes. Okay.
You have from the prime material plane there are 2 connector planes that go to the 2 connector planes are there's the ethereal plane, which is sort of a it's a plane that's all about I guess like energy.
Is that where Azro goes when he goes all insubstantial?
Yeah. So the ethereal plane is the plane where ghosts live. So it's kind of like a spirit realm place that where solid objects are kind of wispy and there's really no substance, and you can pass through really small openings and I don't know, when you're in the ethereal plane, you're basically a ghost on the prime. You can you can fly and go
Walk
anywhere.
through walls
through-
and
when you're on the border ethereal, the border ethereal is halfway between our world and the ethereal plane. When you're in that place, you have to use your own movement methods. So you can still fly if you have wings. You can still walk if you have legs. But if you don't have wings, you can't fly. If you're just like a regular human, you can't fly around. But when you go to the ethereal plane, everything just turns to wispy cloud-like stuff, and you can go anywhere. And your movement rate is based on, I think it's based on your intelligence. So smarter people can travel faster through the ethereal plane. And it's all about energy. So it touches the inner planes, and the inner planes are all about the elements. There's the plane of fire, the plane of water, the plane of air, the plane of earth, and you have the plane of positive energy and the plane of negative energy. And then there are all the para-elemental and quasi-elemental planes in between. So it gets really complicated, but there are those standard 6 planes, and then where those planes touch, there are para-elemental or quasi-elemental planes, and it's really strange, and I don't want to go into detail.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds of weird adventures you can have in those planes.
I've never been off the prime material myself, so I don't know. You know, it's like
And then-
I've just always been on the prime material.
Yeah. And then the prime material plane also borders with the astral plane, which is all about psychic power. And it deals with the mind. So people that have higher wisdom travel faster, I think, in the astral plane. And the astral plane is weird. It's called the Silver Void, right? So as far as the eye can see, all you see is it's basically silver glass. You're surrounded by silver glass. So it's kind of like you're inside of a huge mirror, but you can't see your own reflection. And then floating in this infinite space are rocks, just humongous rocks, and you can fly between the rocks using your wisdom. And if you land on a rock, it has its own gravity, and so you can walk around it on its surface. And the creatures that live there build strongholds on these huge rocks. And
they're like microplanets, you know.
Kind of like, yeah, just like microplanets. And they're not necessarily even planet shaped.
Yeah.
They might be a gigantic rock statue. They might be a gigantic rock chess piece. They might be a huge, like, pebble shaped stone,
potato, whatever.
Yeah, potato shaped rock. So they're just kind of random. And
it's like the asteroid field of the plains.
Right, sort of. But there are also asteroid fields in space, which is a whole other thing.
Dude, I can't even. Okay.
Yeah. So on the prime material plane, if you go off planet, you have wild space. Okay?
Uh-huh.
So wild space is this whole other thing where it's literally like a solar system. Most space has the planet you start on that might orbit around a star in the center of a solar system, and there might be other planets that orbit around that. Or the planet you start on could be the center of the solar system, and the sun orbits around it, and the moon in another orbit. It's all weird. It's like,
or could you end up on a moon? You know, I mean,
right.
Totally.
So if you went off world, you could go to maybe possibly the moon and have adventures there. There could be other planets in the solar system or whatever. So, and then the weird thing about these solar systems is it all depends on the campaign that you're in. So, for example, if you're in Greyhawk and you go, if you go off
Greyhawk,
world,
I know. Okay, Greyhawk, I know. Thank you for hitting a place I know.
Right.
Okay, go.
Okay, so the world of Greyhawk is on the planet Earth. It's spelled Oerth. That's the Old English spelling of Earth. If you go off of Earth, Earth is in the center of the solar system, and the sun and moon orbit Earth. Okay? And it's all held inside of what's called a crystal sphere, right? It's this huge orb of black crystal that was created by who knows what long time ago. And this black crystal is completely impenetrable to any power known to mortal beings. Nothing can penetrate it other than one spell that's in the Spelljammer campaign that allows you to temporarily create a portal through the crystal sphere, and then outside the crystal sphere is an area of space called the Phlogiston, which is a rainbow-colored field, an infinitely large rainbow-colored field of flammable gas that contains an infinite amount of crystal spheres. So Greyhawk is in one of these crystal spheres. Then you have Forgotten Realms is in another crystal sphere. Then Dragonlance is in another one. And all of any amount of Dungeon Master's homebrew campaigns are inside of a crystal sphere. right? So you could technically travel from one DM's homebrew campaign to another DM's homebrew campaign if the two DMs were to collaborate.
Yeah,
and
like
actually,
open that portal, yeah.
yeah. So, and then you can also travel between your DM's homebrew campaign world and Greyhawk. You could fly through space in a spelljamming ship from the planet where your character is from in a homebrew world, fly out of a crystal sphere into the Phlogiston, go into a Phlogiston flow, which is like a river or a current in an ocean, and end up on Kryn from Dragonlance, or on a Bear Toril from Forgotten Realms, or on Earth from Greyhawk. So that's the Spelljammer campaign. That's how it works.
Well, let me ask you this then, because as a player on Solid Hex, and as somebody who's just come up to the surface of Solid Hex from down below, someone who's woefully ignorant, someone who's childishly naive. Okay, because that's my character. He's childishly naive.
Right.
What distinguishes Solid Hex from any other campaign? What is unique about what is happening in Solid Hex in your campaign? What's the major driving force on Solid Hex compared to what happens on Greyhawk or what happens on these other 1,000 other homebrew campaigns?
So it's what my campaign is about.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. Spell it out.
Right.
Dude.
So my campaign is about playing the character you always wanted to play for so long that the character goes beyond mortal life and eventually becomes a demigod in their own right.
Oh, that's my goal. I love to hear you say that. That's my goal.
So supposedly in all these other campaigns you can do that too.
Yeah.
But in my campaign you play the character you always wanted to play, and all the other dungeon masters that you had always told you no.
Yeah. Otherwise, you wouldn't be playing a dragon, or you wouldn't be playing an Asuras, or you wouldn't be playing a Drow who's good, or you wouldn't be playing
Tulani Eladrin, or I've had
I've had DMs say no to me. Like I told you, I wanted to play a gnome, and the DM said no. I wanted to play a dual class gnome or whatever, a multi-class gnome, and the DM said no.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I've had players in this campaign play angels.
Yeah.
I've had people play paladins.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly, there's a lot of DMs that won't let people play paladins.
I don't understand that. Paladins are killer characters.
Yeah. I think it's because they were a player at some point, and there was a paladin that kind of pushed them around and tried to force them to be lawful good and judge them all the time and blah blah blah. So I mean, that's what paladins are supposed to do. Honestly,
yeah, that's paladins.
They're supposed to judge
That's about
people.
the job description. Yeah.
They're supposed to judge people. They are literally Judge Dredd. Okay.
Yeah.
Like.
That's about the size of it.
They're supposed to be judge, jury, and executioner. That's what they do. That's how they roll. So, yeah, I could see that happening. But at the same time, I allow player versus player combat. So if there is a person who wants to play a paladin and they want to play a particularly pushy one, and they end up pissing off one of the other player characters or their henchmen or whatever,
Especially
versus
if that
player
character,
combat
by
is-
the way, is evil, which you already said you
Yeah.
don't have a problem with. Yeah.
I have no problem. So, paladins, of course, are able to sense evil thoughts,
yeah.
right? So, usually they don't do that to other player characters, but sometimes it happens.
By
And
accident, yeah.
Yeah. Well, most of the time it's on purpose because I mean it's
even-
kind of a you have to
No.
role play it. Like the
You
paladin.
had an evil character in our campaign recently, and
Uh-huh.
Viren could easily have detected it. He chose not to, as a PC.
yeah,
that's kind of an asshole move.
Well, he never chose to do it. Is the thing.
Yeah.
So
He never
has
chose to do it.
He has to cast a spell in order to see someone's aura, right? So he has this
chose
spell that he
not
can-
to do that.
Well, I don't think it ever occurred to him that he maybe should do it, right?
I think he had a suspicion that that character might be evil.
He had
He
a
was like,
suspicion.
that's kind of an asshole move to say, hey, I, as a player character,
He-
as a player, think this character might be evil, so I'm going to have my character detect, like, true seeing up on this guy and find out, you know?
He had a suspicion that Jezzy
Yeah.
might be evil, and so he looked at her aura. And I
He
described it
did!
to him.
He
Yeah.
did! He totally did!
It
Thank you
never
for that.
it never occurred to him to
Thank
look
you.
at everyone else. So I never
That's
described
true.
anyone else's aura the whole time.
Except Calamar, by the way, pointed out his aura. He's like, "Oh, it's so bright, you can't even. It's like the sun. You shine your
Yeah.
eyes and you're blind. Oh my
Yeah.
god!" But you're right. He did look at Jezzy's aura,
Yeah.
but he didn't look at
Deliberately.
Alfarius's.
Yeah,
He
didn't.
never did.
Yeah. Because I don't
And-
think it really occurred to him that maybe he should,
Yeah.
look around and see everyone's aura.
Well, it's funny because I asked him about it, and he's like, "Yeah, it was just kind of an asshole move. I wasn't gonna do it." I'm like, "Yeah, but you totally did it, Jezzy. Hello."
Yeah, he did.
You know?
Oh yeah, he did.
he
Definitely.
totally did.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
And,
And Jesse shone
by the
bright
way,
as the driven snow, by
Yeah.
the way.
at first it didn't occur to him that having a white aura meant that the character was good.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
that-
Like, hello.
Yeah.
That's
or
obviously what that means.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at first, if you've never looked at any other aura, you might not necessarily know that.
Well, you described it. You were describing somebody else's aura. And I immediately grabbed hold, and I'm like, now you accidentally, as Calamar walks by, see his auras, and his aura is so bright, it's like blinding as the sun. You can't
Yeah.
even look at it. He's like, I come from the upper planes. I've seen some bright auras. I have no problem. I'm like, no, nobody up there had an aura as bright as this. Trust. But no, you're right. It's like it never occurred to him that a member of our party, could be evil, and to actually check that dude out.
Right.
And now we've got his spell books in our hands,
Yeah.
and we're gonna know his deep dark secrets, and it's gonna be so killer when that is revealed. I cannot wait until next session, because that's what Calamar is gonna do. As soon as everybody else finishes reading their magic, he's gonna cast his read magic and start reading the skincare book. And we're gonna know all his deep dark secrets. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one with a nipple on it and stuff. Yeah, that was
Right.
bad. Yeah, no, we're all gonna know. We're all gonna know. It's gonna be sickening. But I just think this is very interesting. That your idea of how the world should be in your campaign is that the players should play whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
What if somebody chooses something like Anatar? Okay, Anatar is an unbalancing character. He's way more powerful than any of the rest of us.
So, the thing about Anatar's race, and in my opinion, this is what really balances those races that are very strong.
Okay, so you think there is a balance there,
Yes, his.
even though he's unbalancingly strong. Okay, let's hear your story. Okay.
So his race is bound to an NPC leader. And if she doesn't like them messing with mortal affairs, she will instantly zap them back to her court, bind them, and, well, actually, the first time it's a warning. She'll instantly zap them back to her court, and, you know, shake a finger and say, no messing in the lives of mortals, or in the affairs of mortals. No tampering with mortal affairs. And if they don't heed her warning and they do it again, she'll instantly zap them back to her court, pass judgment, sentence them, bind them, and imprison them to stay in her realm for, I think it was like 1,001 years or something. So effectively, the character is retired.
Well, okay, that explains a lot about the tension that he brings every time that he reveals any of his power.
So he walks on the bleeding edge of character retirement every session. He has to be so careful not
Has
to
he
mess.
been warned before that we know
not
of?
Yet,
okay.
Not yet, nope.
But she'll waggle her finger and, you know, that'll be the end of that. Okay.
You would know it. He would disappear.
Yeah, he would just disappear, yeah.
Yeah.
I find that interesting. Okay.
Right.
So there is a balance there that if he goes too far, if he reveals too much of his power in an inappropriate way, then poof, he's out.
It's not so much revealing his power. It is changing the tide of events for a mortal.
So when the avatar of Ramanos revealed himself on the mortal plane, that was a clear violation. Yeah, on the prime material plane. That was a clear violation. And so for him to go to Hulk all out and go deal with that was just equity.
Ramanos is a god, so he's not mortal. He's immortal. So he can go fuck up, you know, Ramanos' day as much as he wants. With whatever means, you know, he possibly can.
So he hulks out, he kills Ramanos. Or Ramanos' avatar on the prime material. And his goddess is like, woohoo, you know. And the rest of us are like, you know, yay, go Anatar. And everything's fine.
Right.
But if he comes and he starts using his powers in a way that is unbalancing in the mortal plane, then he's in trouble.
Yeah, you know, he goes and marries Princess Nina, becomes king of Bryn, establishes a stronghold, starts raising armies in the name of Anatar, and conquers, you know, all of Central Panoplia. That's probably gonna, you know, raise a couple eyebrows. In
back home.
Back home. So and he could very well do that. That's within his power. Like,
I know he could.
I know he could. Yeah. He
can have any woman he wants. That's clear.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that's
probably
clear.
Could. Yep.
Yeah.
Just.
I mean, we've all seen it.
He's so beautiful.
Yeah.
That he could.
And so charming.
Probably, he could probably have any woman he wanted. So. And I think Varen too.
Varen also, but Varen is so much more dour in his personality. I don't think he even tries to attract anyone to him, personality-wise. And it's very interesting, the difference in those two personalities, knowing they're both kind of beings of light and angelic creatures, or, you know.
Right.
That they're two very different personalities, because Anatar is hilarious. He's fun.
Right.
You know, he's having the time of his life, hanging out here on the prime material. He's getting his beer. You know, he's getting 30 liters of beer. You know, he's downing them left and right, and Varen's like sitting up in a tree just guarding everything. You know,
Yeah.
very
Right.
different creatures. So, yeah, and once
So
again, that's the player characters. That's the players behind the characters.
yeah, and a lot of that is their backstory too.
Yeah,
Anatar wasn't. His purpose for being here is more of to experience the mortal world, and then Varen it was sent here to act as a guardian for the circus. So Anatar kind of joined the circus out of happenstance, and Varen is actually on a mission.
yeah, he was sent. He was
Yeah.
sent. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was sent to protect right after the death of Justin and Lucas and everybody else. So yeah, that makes sense. There was something
And
I was going to ask you, and now I've totally forgotten it. I have to think about it. This is what happens when you're my age, and like I say to my students, it will happen to you. You go to grab something, and it just squishes out of your hand like a bar of slippery soap in the bathtub. It's just like, oh my god. And now there's someone in my kitchen. Oh, it's my husband. Okay. Just in general, what is what do you think is the long-term purpose of what the circus is going to accomplish or do on Solanod Hex? Now, if my understanding is correct, and you can set me straight if I'm wrong, is that we are now in 10 AE5.
yeah.
And AE5 is that's the age of adventure.
AE is it's the old English letter. The first
Yeah.
letter in Eon. I can't remember
Yeah.
what they call it.
Yeah, I know what you got.
Okay.
But that was really born out of Thrasham's adventures. And Thrasham is a key figure in the dawning of AE5.
No.
No?
Thrasham started adventuring in I think it was the 8th year of the 5th Eon, so 8 AE5.
Really?
he
'Cause
was
I
not
thought
there for
that
the dawning.
he was
Nope.
one of the people who was like responsible for the dawning of the new thing.
So, it was two humans, and I think Calamar has seen their statue in Enervia City. I think the whole group went to.
Yes, we did. Yes, we
the
did. I
arcade.
remember. Yeah.
And there was this statue. It was a statue of two men that was made of solid gold, and it was at the center of essentially the marketplace in this city, far to the west of
Yeah.
where the party is currently at.
Yep.
That originally was the center of this campaign world. Like that city was the Greyhawk of this campaign.
Yeah. Well, was that the first place that Thrasham was in before he built his stronghold in oh my god, where did he build a stronghold?
Farzak Lode?
Farzak Lode, yes.
Um,
Did he start in Enervia City and then
He-
go to Farzak Lode, or
he
did
was
he
on-
build his?
he was on the island of Enervia, but he wasn't in the capital city. So, he's been there many times though. And
Well, I know he
a lot of
has
friends
a
there.
home there, so that's
Yeah.
that's relevant.
It's actually because of Thrasham's actions that that city now allows humanoids. Originally, they didn't allow humanoids. Giant orcs and goblins and giants couldn't walk through that town without getting killed.
So Thrasham was like, "Oh hell no, you shouldn't be killing those people." Is that what you're saying?
No, It was he made friends with some humanoids, and they helped do some things for the interests of Enervia City, and now those races are allowed in because there's much less xenophobia in the atmospherics of Enervia City at the present time.
See, this is good stuff. Okay, I'm going to run potty, and then I'm going to come back, and you're going to see, because I think if anyone is interested in, watching what we're doing, and going to be interested, they might not have been watching everything for the last... How long have you been running this campaign?
Since 2002.
How long have you been running it on Twitch and on Roll20?
On Twitch and Roll20 since June of 2016.
So, they might not be as completely up to date, just as I'm not, because I just joined a year ago. So I'm going to run to the potty, and then you can fill us in a little bit on some of the backstory us into where we are now, because I feel like there's so much, I feel like there's a wealth of great history that comes together. Yeah, there's so many great stories that come together in this party being what we are right now. So I'm going to run to the potty. I'll come right back.
Yeah, because Jazzy's evil. Right. He thought she was, but he was dead wrong. And I really need to find dragon senses in here. This is mind-boggling. I can't believe I haven't found it yet.
All right, so go ahead.
I really wish that I wish Thrasham's player would finish Thrasham's bio, because he has so many stories to tell.
I know, right? I looked at his bio because I was like, I gotta know everything. Damn.
Yeah, this is a level 13
I'm gonna have to go grab I'm gonna have to go grab a can of soda. I'm sorry, I'm the worst bitch in the world, but I have to run grab one from the fridge. I'll be right back.
All right.
Okay, I'm back, but I have to second what you're saying, because I went to go read Thrasham's bio because I'm like, oh my god, I'm totally ready for the story.
Yeah.
And it's not there.
Yeah.
And it's just,
I mean, it is like 4 pages long, but that's not all of it.
Yeah, and I know there's so much that he's accomplished as a character.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's so interesting.
I don't like I would rather that all this stuff come up during roleplay. But it's...
But it can't all. I mean, there's so much. I mean, and we roleplay a lot, but I mean, if we sat around and roleplayed all of this, it'd be a whole session or 2 or 3.
Right.
To tell his whole story. And, people who haven't been following the story from the beginning, I'm sure they're curious about Thrasham. Why is Thrasham, our mighty leader? Why is he the one that everybody follows?
I wouldn't even call him a leader.
But he is. He just
priests,
is.
priest's like main concern is as a guide rather than a leader. Like, leader kind of denotes authority, right? Guide is more of a person who kind of shows the way rather than someone who's in charge.
Well, he does show the way, but he's so respected among the members of the circus that we care about what he says. Yeah. And if he makes a suggestion, pretty much the equivalent of a leader saying, here's what we're going to do. And it's only because we respect him so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I kind of find...
So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I kind of find Anatar more in the role of an actual leader.
He is.
Here's what we're going to do. Just because he seems to have so much more direction than Thrasham has.
And he does have more direct leadership potential. Like, if he says, here, let's go do this, people are going to be like, oh, hell yeah, let's go do what Anatar says. Yeah. But even Anatar defers to Thrasham. Because he
sometimes
recognizes Thrasham's wisdom and experience.
Right.
And, he knows that he's still relatively new to this plane.
Right.
Whereas Thrasham's lived here his whole life. He's accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of things. He's seen stuff. So, just kind of tell us the story of Thrasham, may I? Because I just find him fascinating. And I love playing with Dale. I think he's a great role player.
Yeah.
Not just for himself, but for his henchmen and his followers. I mean, I just love how each one of his players is a totally different personality. Like, when he's role-playing Thrasham, it's one thing. When he's role-playing Scarret, it's totally something else. When it's Wilwith, when it's Azuro, it's like every single one is a totally different experience from the player point of view. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I get his Azuro and his Beltola mixed up, though. But yeah, for the most part, his characters are all different.
Yeah, he does a good job in that. Yeah.
He chooses not to use a voice changer. Yeah, I think he would. I think he would do a lot better if he were proficient with a voice changer, but I think he just doesn't want to mess with it. Like, he likes to keep things simple.
Well, I can tend to tell when he switches from Thrasham to Scarret or from Thrasham to Wilwith.
Yeah, so can I. Yeah.
To Azuro. Yep. But you're right. Beltola's a little bit like maybe it's not as clear.
Yeah.
But those three characters are clear as day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Clear as day.
Yeah. He doesn't really roleplay Beltola much. Yeah. It's just been a couple of times that I can recall, and when he does voice her, it sounds a lot like his Azuro voice.
Yeah.
Which is like melodious kind of like singing voice.
Yeah. Well, I love that you will sometimes come in behind him and voice that for him, like, my name is Azuro.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how they're supposed to talk.
Of what it's supposed to sound like. Yeah.
Right. At least that's how it's described in the monster manual, how they talk.
Yeah. But when he does Scarret, it's like it's clearly Scarret. Hello.
I found it. Common dragon abilities. Communicate with intelligence creatures. Lair clairaudience. Dragon senses. And dragon fear. So dragon senses. All dragons have excellent senses of sight, smell, and hearing, as well as infravision to 120 feet. Okay,
Jeez.
So I gotta... That's a lot of infravision. Yeah.
That's a lot of infravision.
A lot of infravision.
Good lord.
Okay. They can detect all invisible objects and creatures, including things hidden in darkness or fog, within a radius in feet equal to 10 times their age category.
Oh, good lord.
The chance to detect
if
these
Calamar
things,
is hiding 10 feet away from Nymarth, he's like, there he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The chance to detect these hidden things is 35% plus 5% times a dragon's age category. By making a successful dragon senses check, a dragon can spot secret and concealed doors, invisible or hidden creatures. That includes, I guess, hiding thieves. traps and other things not in plain sight. So just about anything that's not readily apparent. So that's really powerful, and it's radius in feet equal to 10 times their age category. So I was wrong. His radius right now is equal to the elf radius, but his chance is much higher. It's 40% right now.
At level 1, or basically the equivalent. Yeah.
120 foot infravision. Oh yeah. I'm glad I opened up the campaign box set.
Nice. So normal rogue starts out, I'm looking at it right now, with their base scores of what would be the base score that you would be looking for trying to find a door?
Oh, that's not a rogue ability. That's
that's not a rogue ability. It's not.
It's not in any book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the dungeon master is just supposed to create an arbitrary rule for that. But I'd
like to think that rogues would be better at finding them than somewhat, random dude.
Right. Oh, you're talking about secret doors.
Yeah, secret doors.
I think there was originally a rule for that in Dungeons and Dragons, not Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, but just D&D.
Maybe that's what I'm remembering, yeah.
And I think they just forgot to write it into 2nd edition, but it might be in 1st edition. Maybe.
But even if I'm looking at find, remove traps or open locks, your percentages are like 10-5% at level 1 base.
So if you open up Purple Worm and then click on Index and then Control F, if you Control F Secret Doors, there's only like 1 hit.
Okay. Control F.
That really applies to. It's Concealed and Secret Doors.
Concealed and Secret Doors in the DMG, yeah.
So it mentions that searching a 20-foot section will take about 10 minutes. 20-foot section of wall. But there's no dice roll for the chance to, find secret doors for anyone other than an elf. It's an elf racial ability, right? But that doesn't mean that elves are the only ones that are supposed to be able to do it. That doesn't make any damn sense, right? Because anyone should be able to search.
Yeah, especially somebody like a thief who's well trained in such kinds of concealment and stuff like that.
In my opinion, it shouldn't have anything to do with race or class. It should just be an action that somebody can perform. Just to search for something, to search for secret doors on a wall somewhere. But the game doesn't give you a check. The only check it gives you is the elf one. So it's like, are you just supposed to make it like the elf one, but like worse for everybody that's not an elf, or what? Because I think in 1st edition they had like your chance, if you're not an elf, your chance to find a secret door, instead of a 1 on a d6, it's like a 1 on a d10 or something like that. You have like a 10% chance.
Ridiculous.
So what I do, since there's no actual written rule in the Dungeon Master's Guide that I can remember ever reading, the 2nd edition one at least, I essentially give everybody a 100% chance to succeed, but it takes 10 minutes. So 10 rounds of searching a 20-foot section of wall, right? And you're automatically successful if it's there. Elves can do that, but they also have their standard elf ability to do the same thing at a glance.
Like, oh yeah, Ulysses
Like,
Garrett desperately searching
you're-
for the
yeah.
secret door that's right there.
Oh,
Yeah.
are you looking for the secret door that's right here? Because it's right here.
Yeah.
And then you just walk up and, push a brick in and the door opens,
Yeah.
That's the power of elves, right? Anybody can search for secret doors, in my opinion. Anybody. And
No, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. Yeah. Because it's ridiculous to say you can't find it. I mean,
because you're not an elf, you can't
'Cause you're
find
not.
it. So you should have been an elf. That is no thanks.
no, yeah. No,
Okay.
I like the way that you do it. Yeah. But because 10 minutes is a long time in game time to spend looking.
Yeah. I mean that's what the DMG says.
Yeah.
I think originally in the DMG, time is supposed to pass much faster
Yeah.
than it does in my game. It doesn't actually say to do 10-minute increments of time, but I mean, imagine that. You move twice your movement rate in squares in 10 minutes, and you can perform a standard action, and then the next person's turn occurs, and it's like what people do for 10 minutes. That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So I do round by round.
Yeah.
And then another thing about doing 10-minute increments of time is you have a lot more dungeon checks that way. Holy shit. Do you have a lot more dungeon checks?
Yeah.
And by dungeon checks, I mean dungeon random encounters.
Random
Because
encounters.
you're supposed to have one check every hour. So that would mean 6 turns go by, like everyone says what they want to do 6 times, and then boom, there's a 10% chance of a monster because an hour has passed. Holy shit, no way. That's weird. So I do minute by minute, and a lot of the times if the party is very focused on moving quickly, most of the dungeons that I have made in the past will not even take an hour in game to complete. Out of game, they might take 3 or 4 weeks, like 3 or 4 sessions, but in game, like maybe
how many times have we spent like 3 or 4 sessions and we're still on the same day? Like, think about the fact that
that's
Lao Shan
natural.
was with us for like 3 or 4 sessions, and he hadn't been with us for a full day. He hadn't slept.
Yeah, that's natural. In 5th edition, you have short and long rests, right?
Yes, I know.
And they kind of introduced the short rest because of situations like that, where you have 5 or 6 sessions and it's still the same day. So you can have.
But it's unreasonable the way that they gave hit points back. I'm sorry. It's I
don't
can't
like that
rest
either.
for an hour and get 10 hit points back.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. So I mean, there's got to be a balance somewhere in between. I'll grant you that. That sometimes it seems like in 2E it's like, oh my god, we're still not sleeping. What the hell? Whereas in 5e, it's like, oh, we've been playing for 15 minutes. Let's take an hour break, and all of a sudden, everybody's healed up. No,
and they have
that's
all their spells back.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
They have all their spells back. That's ridiculous. It's just, and not that I don't even enjoy playing my 5e campaign, because I totally do, but I see that there's a level of imbalance there.
Well, the thing that
imbalance.
in 2nd edition. The thing that no one really has discovered yet is 2nd edition essentially can have what you could call a short rest, where the non-spellcasters can just guard the spellcasters while they sleep for 8 hours, and then they can wake up and, you know,
Memorize.
study for their spells and get their spells back.
But don't they
So-
also need rest? I mean, you know, don't
Well,
the
so-
non-spellcasters also need rest?
So the thing is, you can't sleep without spending at least 8 hours awake first, right?
Yeah.
So there's an 8-hour limit, okay? And then you have to have 8 hours of rest before you can memorize spells, right? So that accounts for 16 hours, okay? So after that would be when the non-spellcasters could sleep, or they could push on and maybe accrue exhaustion after that. You know, like maybe 1 exhaustion per hour until the next time you sleep for, you know, 8 hours or whatever.
Well, let me ask you this, because I think I texted you about this before, but I don't think we discussed it. Is with Calamar as a drow,
Yeah.
and we talked about the reverie is a way for the elves to regain, you know, they can spend 4 hours in the reverie and they can have the equivalent of like 8 hours of rest. But
I think
you know,
that
it
the book
doesn't-
says they are in the reverie for 8 hours, doesn't it?
Say it again.
I think the book says that they're in the reverie for 8 hours.
Okay, because you know, in my other campaign, the drow character that I'm basing this question upon spends 4 hours in the reverie and he's fine. And I'm like, hold up, you know,
yeah.
it just, first of all, it doesn't make sense to me. I can understand that elves can spend 4 hours in reverie and that might be the equivalent of 8 hours of rest. But drow aren't the same as normal elves, because I thought the reverie was supposed to be a joyous experience of their past, and you know they experience it and da, da, da. But the drow don't have that positive experience.
That's not what the book says.
Okay,
I mean,
where is it in the book?
It's in the part that talks about the reverie. It talks about how
that's the Book of
evil,
Elves?
Yeah. So it says that if you do evil things, that during the reverie you relive those things, and it just makes you evil more. So
What if you're
That's
good,
what-
like Calamar? He's so good. He's never done an evil thing ever in his whole life.
right. Well, you know, alignment is not dependent
Of.
on your race. Player characters can be of any alignment.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the complete Book of Elves. Would that be?
Just open up the index and Control F reverie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Control F for you. Seem. Hang on. Let me do that again.
M570.
Right. Okay. The reverie is akin to sleep, but very much unlike it. Now, this is more sleep, like everybody else. So I just assumed he slept. Which for 8 hours, like everyone else.
No, it's for elves. It's the reverie for 8 hours.
Yeah, 8 hours. He sleeps for 8 hours and then he memorizes his spells like everybody else. You know, he's just been living like a person. He sleeps his 8 hours. He memorizes his spells. You know, so I just didn't know. You don't think there's a difference in the reverie depending on the race of the elf, but more
Alignment.
upon the alignment
Did
of
you
the
read?
elf?
Did you read
I'm
it? It
reading
says it
right
in there.
now. I'm reading it
Yeah.
right now.
Yep, it says it in there.
Now, where does it say the
In the
amount-
reverie section. It's only like, what, 4 paragraphs?
Yeah, I'm reading. I'm reading. I'm only like
Where it talks about what you dream about while you're in the reverie.
yeah.
If you're good, you dream about this. If you do bad stuff, you dream bad things.
You dream bad things. Yeah. Okay, the kid explain why they're resistant to sleep. And charm. Let's see how long they spend in this reverie. And let me get
Well,
back
it says
to
it's
make sure
akin
I'm
to
not-
sleep, so you sleep for 8 hours. So
he would have the reverie for 8 hours, is what you're saying.
yeah, I mean, if
He's
it's akin
laying
to sleep,
down and he's living all the positive things, like the butterflies and the rainbows and the kittens, for 8 hours, and then he wakes up and he's like, "Yay!" Is what you're saying. Because
Yeah.
in Tyrone's campaign, it's 4 hours. There are people they spend 4 hours in the reverie and then they're done. And I was thinking, damn, that's an advantage the elves have over humans and every other
Yeah.
race, is that they don't have to sleep 4 hours.
yeah,
'Cause
in his
if
campaign,
I could
but
sleep,
not in mine, because the book says it's
Doesn't
akin to
say.
sleep. So
Yeah.
by my interpretation, that would mean that you have to engage in the reverie for as long as normal people sleep.
no, I'm
Which is
down
8
with
hours.
that. That actually makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because
I'm
4 hours is
and
too
I'm-
much of an advantage.
I understand that different DMs have different interpretations, and I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah,
And the way that you're interpreting it makes sense to me because, he's been kind of joyous contemplation for 8 hours. He's so happy. He's just spent 4 hours with puppies and kittens and rainbows. Why wouldn't he be happy? I mean, he just spent 8 hours with puppies and kittens. They were licking him to death, and there may have been a bunny.
Mhm.
A bunny might have been nibbling on his toes. Who knows? But I didn't realize the time does it. And the to when we and they're both taking the time.
You're breaking up really bad. It might be my headset that's...
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So the same is true for Alluvio and Woolwith and all the other elves in your campaign.
Yeah, 8 hours of reverie, yep. Yeah.
That makes sense. It totally makes sense. Coolio. But it's worth asking, because if I could gain an extra 4 hours of my day, what wouldn't I do with that? I mean, I asked myself that question. If I had an extra 4 hours every day, what wouldn't I do with that?
If you have Lao Shun cast sleep on or nap on you, you could gain 7 hours of the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay, I thought he could only cast that on himself.
No, you cast it on a number of characters equal to your level, and it maxes out at 10. And it doesn't... I think it doesn't necessarily have to be the caster. But let me check on that.
Where is that? Where would that be found?
Click on Index, and then Control F, Nap.
Yeah.
Second level pre-spell, Tome of Magic.
Second level pre-spell time of magic. Got you.
Creatures affected by this spell are put to sleep for 1 hour. Upon awakening, the creature is as refreshed as if he had slept for 8 hours. The affected person recovers lost hit points as if he rested for a full night. Wizards can memorize spells as if real time had passed. Because the rest is so complete and rejuvenating, a character does not feel fatigued after waking. Attempts to use nap more than once in an 18-hour period are ineffective. The character simply is not sleepy. Only willing subjects can be affected by nap. The material components are a scrap of pillow ticking, a feather, and a pebble that the caster has kept in his pocket for 7 nights. So the sphere is time.
How do you? Yeah. Now, how do you, as a DM, how do you deal with the material components of spells and why? Because some are sticklers about it, and some are like, "Who cares? Who cares?" So where do you come down and why?
Spellcasters in my campaign, once they learn the spell, no longer need material components to cast the spell, and I do that because. When are you ever going to roleplay picking up bat guano?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, it's fine.
A little piece of sand for sleep.
Yeah. I mean, then you have to write down all of your spell components that you need, and it becomes more bookkeeping on top of an already bookkeeping heavy class. So as a wizard, you have 4 spell lists. No, 3. Okay. So you have the list of spells that you currently have memorized. You have the list of spells for which you currently are carrying books. Mm-hmm. Then you have the list of spells that you currently know.
Yes.
Which may or may not be in books that you're carrying.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have all these lists of books with lists of spells and all this listing, and then if you want to, if you research how to create a magical item, then you have to start listing, in your book of magic, like all these material components and stuff for creating this magical item and all the spells you have to cast in order to create it at the, cast it at the proper time and do this, do that, in this long process. And it just becomes a really documentation heavy class. If you add on top of it all material components for each spell that you know, your character might know 100 spells. So that means you got to keep a list of 100 spell components somewhere, and like each spell that it belongs to, so that you'll remember, like, oh yeah, bat guano's for fireball, so I gotta buy a bat somehow. And there's no price for bat guano anywhere. There's no price for bats in the player's handbook. It's like it's good for role playing, okay? Like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go out and harvest some grass for my plant growth spell or what. I don't even know what the material component is. Yeah. But yeah, it's too much. I've played a wizard before. I know how documentation heavy the class is, and material components are just too much. Also,
yeah, I feel like it is too, just because you have to be concerned with not only what material components you have, how many you have of each kind, but where they're stored on your person. Yeah. Like I have it in belt pouch number 1. I have the pillow ticking in belt pouch number 2. I have the feather in belt pouch number 3. I have the pebble, and it just becomes overwhelming. And I understand the point was that you can't just create magic out of nothing. Understand the point of why they created material component, but it just becomes an overwhelming burden on the arcane caster's class to have to deal with that. Whereas a cleric doesn't have all these components. Mm-hmm. They can just and they just cast a spell and it happens. Right. And it just becomes overwhelming. And especially this is my thing. I love wizards. I think they're great. There's nothing more terrifying and nothing more deadly than a high level wizard.
Yeah.
But the low-level wizards are just death waiting to happen.
Yes.
You know, they are the weakest possible characters that we ever play. And to expect them to track off pinch of sand here, I have this here, I have this here. It's just ridiculous to think that they're going to stay on top of all those things. You know, when they have, 20 spells, and at the time of the combat, they're going to know exactly where to go to grab that spell component.
Right.
It's just ridiculous, yeah. So I appreciate the fact that you don't follow that.
Yeah.
I think that's a part of the 2E rules that are a little bit too extreme. And I love that they kind of cleared that up later.
Yeah. And
But later,
also
just kinda dropped it.
there are literally no game mechanics that have to do with spell components. Literally none.
Yeah. If you had to cast the sand into the eyes of the person when you were casting sleep, that would make sense. But you don't. If I'm casting sleep on you, I don't need to throw sand in your eyeballs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and there's no like spell to create spell components. So
Hello, yeah.
right. Like, why would you not?
No, but if I'm creating if I want to create a magical item, I assume you're going to make me go out and gather all of the magical equipment, all the magical components that are required for that magical item.
Mm-hmm.
But, just for a sleep spell or a magic missile spell or a charm person spell that I'm going to cast day to day, you're not going to require me to have those components.
Another thing. So for the most basic spells, like say identify.
Yeah.
The material component for identify is like a pearl that's worth
gold piece pearl.
100 GP pearl. Okay.
Are you serious?
It's a level
right
1.
now?
It's a level 1 spell that a level 1 wizard can cast. Right. Where is a level 1 wizard going to get a 100 GP pearl? Level 1 wizard isn't even going to have 100 GP.
Yeah.
Let alone the ability to... Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if you're creating a magical item that's going to persist. It's going to continue to have magical qualities after I create it. But if I'm casting this spell and then it's just gone, it doesn't make sense to have a material component for that. So, I'm glad that you don't require that, because I've noticed that Calamar's never carried a single spell component ever, and yet his lightning bolts have still struck true.
Yeah. Yep. Also,
and I appreciate that.
Also, sometimes people just want to change their spell list, right?
Yes.
So according to the material components rules, if you don't have the material component, you can't cast the spell. If you can't cast the spell, you can't empty the slot. If you can't empty the slot, you can't put a different spell in it. Okay?
Yep.
So what happens when you are on an island that doesn't have bats and you need bat guano to
I've
free
lost
up
my backpack in a horrible shipwreck.
Your character might as well be retired and you make a new one because you are so fucked.
Yeah, so I just think that I just appreciate a DM that, and this is the great thing I love about D&D is the freedom of the DM to kind of interpret the rules.
Right.
This is something that's great about this, because I've had DMs who are sticklers about the material component rules. It's like, I remember playing in Michael's campaign, and Elena wanted to cast something, and she needed a bug or something. She needed a grasshopper's leg or something. And so we had to go out and try to find one. So she
Right.
could cast a freaking spell. Like she
Right.
like spider climb or something. She needed a spider's leg or something. So we went out looking for freaking spiders. Like we're going out. Now we're spending our adventuring time out in the woods. We're looking for a spider just so we can pluck his legs off. And like that poor spider, he wasn't hurting anybody. He just
Right.
was like trying to spin his little web. He was fine. And now he's missing 2 legs. And she's crawling up on the ceiling. And it's like, that's just ridiculous. I'm sorry. So, yeah, it's just not necessary. It's just not necessary.
Yeah.
So, this is interesting
So-
because, our conversation
What?
about
You're breaking up again.
and how you
Oh, there we go.
on that. And then you explain why, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
You're not just saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that," because I feel like it. It's like I
Right.
have a reason behind each choice that I'm making, so that I feel like my game world is balanced. I feel like my game world is enjoyable to play as a player. It's easier to run as a DM.
I think it's important for a DM to have experienced
Yeah.
what it's like to play as each of the classes before they can really be a DM effectively.
Now, have you played all of the classes? All the
I
major
have.
classes anyway?
I have, yeah. Not necessarily all the subclasses, but I have
Yeah.
played the 4 archetypes.
Yeah.
I've played a fighter, I've played a thief, I've played a wizard, and I've played a cleric.
Yeah.
So I know how it feels to be told, no, you can't have this spell, when obviously I'm a wizard and I can research spells if I want to, right?
Yeah, I can make my own damn spells. What are you talking about?
What?
Yeah.
Like what are you talking about? I can have that spell. Yes, I can, because I'm a mage, and I can research it.
Yeah.
So just tell me, what dice to roll and how long it takes and how much money it takes.
Yeah.
So the only time that I require material components from people is when they want to research a spell.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the only time it really makes sense, because part of research is fucking with a lab, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Getting in there.
You have to have a library, or yeah, okay, so you have to have a library, and then you're doing all this weird shit with what are those things? The little grinder thing, the
the mortar and pestle.
mortar and pestle,
Yeah.
and you're using all these alembics and beakers and things like that, chemicals and whatever.
And we're assuming that you've made
like a mad
10
scientist.
failures before you even have 1 success. I mean,
Maybe.
we might not role play every bit of that, but
smart wizards may not ever fail. So
yeah, that's true.
yeah.
But you don't have to role play every failure to know that not everything you're going to do is going to be success. Life is not a success only journey.
Yeah.
That's life. But we don't have to role play that. But to know, okay, so you spent 4 months in the lab researching it, and you came out with X or Y or Z.
Yeah.
And there's no need to go through every detail of every frog that you ground up. It's like, I don't need to know every bug that I killed.
Right. Yeah. Every time you
Yeah.
cast this spell, you have to do X and Y. That's too much detail. I don't really like that. It's not. If I were forced to roleplay that, I would get sick of it really fast, and I wouldn't want to play a wizard anymore. To me, it's understandable to keep, track of how many pages I spend on this spell and this, that, and the other. But stuff like that, I don't want to keep a damn inventory like you said, of which pocket has what in it. I don't want to do
Yeah.
that. It's not fun. That's totally that's
yeah.
destroying the experience. So
And every class, wizards are perhaps easier to explain that about because they
Yeah.
have so many, there's so many details about how a wizard
Yeah.
works. But that's true of every class, it just there's so many details that don't have to be dealt with.
right.
Let's just assume, let's just skip over.
If
It's like
if it's not in the book, yeah. If it's not
yeah,
in the
well,
book,
it's just like if
and
I'm
there's no
watching a
mechanic for
TV
it.
show and I
Yeah.
never see my characters in the bathroom, I'm fine with it.
Right,
I don't
yeah.
need to know.
There's no
you
mechanic.
know?
There's no mechanic for cleanliness. There's
Yeah.
hygiene there's no mechanic for that. They kind of hinted at it in first edition, where
Yeah.
if you didn't, keep yourself clean, then eventually you could start getting diseases.
Yeah.
And then if you slept in a place that was not clean, it was supposed to be possible for you to get a disease. Or if you slept with someone who wasn't clean,
I
could
just
possibly
don't
get a
need to know every disease I caught
Yeah.
from the time I sat on that toilet seat
And incidentally,
in the tavern in
First-
Nervia City.
yeah,
I don't
first-
need to know.
first edition, it had a damn near infinite amount of random diseases you could catch, because each disease was basically unique, right?
I didn't need that. I don't
Second-
need that.
Yeah, second edition, there's like 4 diseases. There's the 2 diseases that you can cause with cause disease, which are supposed to be the only 2 diseases that exist in the world, which is disease that is like a chronic disease, and then
That
there's
will
a
kill
fatal,
you.
and then there's fatal diseases that will
Yeah.
kill you eventually. Other than that, there's magical ones like contagion, which
Yeah.
is supposed to be like a permanent disease.
Oh, I know
Unless
about
you-
contagion. You don't
Yeah.
need to explain.
Yeah,
That
And
made me
then-
uglier than usual.
yeah. And then I can't remember the other one, but there's only like 4. So, and then 2 of them are natural, and only 1 or 2 are magical.
I don't need to worry
So-
about am I putting the little toilet shield down
Yeah.
on the toilet seat in the tavern
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
prevent
Yes.
catching some kind of disease. I don't need,
Exactly.
it's like that's some part of role play I just don't want to play.
Yeah.
I just don't.
In first edition, sleeping in a swamp. Oh my god. If if you sleep in a swamp, you are risking getting infinite amounts of diseases. And first edition not only had diseases, but it also had parasites, which
Oh,
was
good God.
just as complicated as the disease system. So there was almost infinite parasites, because they were all unique and random.
Oh,
You
good
literally
God.
rolled on like 3 tables to figure
Oh,
out
good
what
God.
it would do to you. So, yeah, it was God. First edition was a huge pain in the butt.
Yeah, it was a pain. Well, it's bad enough that in second edition I have to deal with poison saves versus death. I have to deal with freaking hello. I didn't know this until it happened to me. Zombie lords that could make me undead.
Oh
Yeah, it's definitely like I'm
Yeah.
at full hit points. I'm totally fine. Zoom. Now I'm
Boom,
a
you're
zombie
dead. Yeah,
under the
or a
control of the
zombie.
zombie lord.
yeah.
It's bad enough I have to deal with that. Do I have to deal with what kind of diseases I can get from using the toilet in the tavern?
Right.
And, it's like, no, like what kind of food poisoning I can get from eating the local brown stew at
Yeah.
the tavern. I don't need to know. I just don't
Right.
need. I mean, like, yeah, I want a certain amount of realism in the game, but there comes a point where it's like, that's just not fun. Okay, yeah, my character got diarrhea. Okay, are we fine with that? Can we just move on?
Right.
Because when in real life, when I get diarrhea, I still go to work. Are you serious? It's like I go do my job. My character might have some diarrhea, but I'm still gonna go kill the demons. I got you. I'm not, it's just, I'm not going to let that keep me. I'm not going to be saying like, oh no, dudes, I need to stay here at the camp. So I'm with you. I like the way that you kind of keep the balance in it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's important to make it feel that like it's more natural and that we're actually adventuring.
Right. I try to use the things that are important mechanically. And then if there are mechanics that are not important or details, like needless details that have no mechanical bearing other than screwing the character over, such as material components for spells, I don't use them. And that's an optional rule anyways. In the Dungeon Master's Guide, material components for spells is an optional rule.
Now, I will say most of my DMs have agreed. They're like, I just don't. I have had some sticklers who've been like, no, you better have a pinch of sand if you're casting sleep. You better have it. But most of them have been like, oh, who cares? Just cast your spell, whatever.
Yeah.
Because, they know the wizard, like first level wizard is the weakest. They're like a baby kitten.
Right.
Like you could stomp on their head and they're done.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, no, you don't need the pinch of sand, baby. You just do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
Cast your sleep spell and good luck to you, type situation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, how is it for you when most of your party now, what's the average level of our party right now? I'd say 7, 8?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So, well, it's actually 8 now. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's the average level. And
is that of player characters or
just
do you include
player
henchmen
characters?
in that?
I don't include henchmen. They really should have no bearing in it.
Okay, good.
Just the player characters. So, we do have now one level 1 character, so that brought down the average to 8. So,
well, but Grasham is he's the highest level by far. He's level 13, right?
Yeah.
And so, he's going to draw the average up.
Yep. Yeah, it evens out.
With his height. But, the rest of us are averaging, I would like to think about 8. 6 or 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 7. Yeah, somewhere in there. Calamar is 8, which is great.
Yep.
Yeah. That's 8 in both classes, which is good. But even somebody like Viren, what's Viren up to now?
Well, I don't want to discuss other player characters' levels and stats and stuff like that. So
that might be too meta. Okay.
Yeah. So
everybody knows that Thrasham's 13 because we've discussed it.
Yeah, and everybody knows that the dragon's level 1. So there's that. Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty easy to keep track of what level everyone is because they usually say, oh, I dinged, and now I'm this level. So
yeah,
but
I just don't do that. Yeah, I just don't pay attention. I cheer them when they ding, and then I move on.
Right.
But now at level 8, how do you plan a dungeon for a group that's average of level 8, knowing there's a level 13 character, knowing there's a level 1 character that could easily die if he gets hit on the head with a rock?
Okay. So the cool thing about 2nd edition is it has this handy dandy tool that's published. It came out during 1st edition actually, and it got translated into 2nd edition in 1989 when before the monster manual was actually out, or the monstrous manual, that is. It came out in the first monstrous compendium, and it's called the Dungeon Monster Random Level Matrix. And what it is it is literally a matrix. So the DM essentially chooses what dungeon level of monster he or she wants to generate and rolls on a table. I think it's a d20 roll. And that will roll up the result of the name of another table. Now, there are different categories to what dungeon level you want it to be. So there's a first level dungeon, there's a second and third level dungeon, there's a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, a seventh, eighth, ninth, and then 10, 11 is the same thing, 12 and 13 is the same, 14 and 15 is the same, and then 16th and down is all the same. Now, a first, if you, and this is supposed to be essentially for what dungeon floor you're on, but in the second edition player's handbook, if you look up level, the definition of the word level, it can mean a bunch of different things. It can mean the dungeon level you're on, like what floor, literally the level of the dungeon, the character's life force level, okay, or character level or class level or whatever you want to call it, spell level. So it's kind of subjective, but I like to think of the Dungeon Monster Random Level Matrix as a monster generator for a dungeon that is meant for a certain level of characters. And that's what I use it for. So this last dungeon that the player characters went into was a 7th level dungeon.
Bother Doom.
Yeah, the copper mines of Bother Doom. And when I select the 7th dungeon level, there's a random d20 roll, and it will spit out the name of a table I should roll on. So usually it will want me to roll on the 7th level of monsters. So monsters that have either let's see, it's in the Dungeon Master's Guide in the experience chapter, I think. Whoops, browse. So there's a table in the Dungeon Master's Guide that shows you different categories of monsters. Let's see, experience.
Where is that found?
In the Dungeon Master's Guide in chapter 8.
Chapter 8. Okay.
Experience point awards, I think. Creature experience. Okay. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different categories of monsters.
Yep.
So there are monsters with less than 1 hit die, which are usually worth 7 experience. And then up to 1 hit die is 15 experience. And then one hit die plus 1 hit point to 2 hit dice is 35. And then all the way up to 13 plus hit dice is 3,000 experience points plus 1,000 per additional hit die over 13.
Yep.
Okay. Now, this takes into account not only the actual hit dice of the creature, so however many d8s of hit points they have, but also their abilities actually increase the amount of hit dice that they're worth. So, like monsters that have a bunch of tentacles, right? They have multiple attacks, so that raises their actual hit dice by like 2. So it could be a level, like a creature that has 1d8 hit points, right? So a 1 hit die creature, but it has a bunch of tentacles, so it counts as a level 3 creature. Okay. So instead of being worth 15 XP, it's worth 65.
Okay.
So basically this dungeon monster random level matrix is going to spit out encounters that are appropriate for the group's level, whatever I deem is their average level. I can figure it out mathematically, or I can say, well, the average level might be 7, but everybody's pretty strong at this point. They have a lot of magical items, a lot of
Yeah.
spells and stuff. So I'm gonna bump it up to 8 or 9. So the party is still challenged, right? And the cool thing about adventuring beyond your current level is you gain experience points faster. So because you're so powerful, you can take on things that are much more powerful than you actually are, and you gain, levels faster because you're gaining more experience from each encounter. So it's in the end, it's all good. It's all good because you're
Oh
being
yeah.
challenged, but you get more experience. So it's riskier though
And we
because
level faster, but we're only stronger because we're working as a party. So we're sending Anatarian to go and take the first few hits. We're having our casters cast from the back. We're having our ranged fighters fight from the back. We're sitting in, our melee. We're sitting in Skirit. It's like, yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. That's cool. See, then this was very informative for me as a player and as somebody who hopes to DM,
Yeah.
kind of understand why why you're making the rules of your world the way that you have them.
Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to maybe getting into your game, um if you'll have me, cuz I really would like to play. Were you thinking about a level 1 group?
Yeah, eventually I would like to, I'm interested in the kind of thing I was talking about with you about I see my future playing this kind of in a Roman environment where we're playing, okay, you're a Trojan hero who's fleeing from Troy,
Mhm.
and you're basically in the group of Aeneas as he flees from Troy, and you're going out to found the new Troy, which is eventually going to be Rome, because Rome is the new Troy. But yeah, and you're adventuring and you're going along on the trails of Aeneas. Yeah, would basically start from scratch and build those characters up, and you'd be encountering the kind of monsters that these heroes fought on the way. So you'd be dealing with the Cyclopes, you'd be dealing with sirens, you'd be dealing with your sea monsters, you'd be and also you'd have to be role playing as well, because you land in Carthage and all of a sudden there's Dido. You gotta be like making up on that.
Yeah.
How are you gonna be wooing her over to your side and getting her to support you? And so I just feel like there's a lot of role playing possibilities there, and I just feel like that would be, for me, working with young students, I could just see them getting really excited about the possibilities of playing these types of heroes. They've never maybe played a role playing game before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see them totally getting into it. Okay, like, here's your character, here's your hero. What are you gonna do? And it would be nice to be able to kind of test those out on some experienced role players before you try them out on some kids. And trust me, as experienced as you think you are, these kids are going to totally crush you. These kids' imaginations are 10 times what we as adults have. They're
Yeah.
going to be like, oh, dude, I'm totally going to go do this. And I'm going to be like, it never occurred to me in the world that anybody would do this.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I just feel like that would be a lot of fun. But I like to talk to DMs and kind of get their feel for why their game is the way it is, why they make the choices they do. What is the point of their game world? What are they trying to accomplish? What's the story that we're trying to tell?
Right.
because for me it's all about the stories.
Right.
um, you know, this is collaborative storytelling. We are a bunch of people and we're gathering together every week to tell a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, and we're working together to tell that story. And is this going to be a great story? Is it going to be a story of heroes? Are we going to crash and burn? That's up to us every week to make those choices as to how we're going to work this group.
Yeah.
And fortunately, you have done a really fantastic job of kind of weeding through your applicants to bring together a really tight group.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a gift. I really do, because not everybody is good at picking the good players. I've seen game after game after game where people just disappear after a week or two. And
Right.
you've had a really tight group for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
I do have a lot of background with interviewing people. So that's part of what I did for the Army for
yeah.
5 years. So, half a decade of interviewing people is
Yeah.
you pick up some things on how to really interpret what someone means when they
Yeah.
say something, and kind of what they're thinking about when they say particular things. So
We haven't had the best luck with that wizard slot, but wizards
yeah.
are notoriously fickle. I mean, that's just
Well, that was bad luck. We had a
yeah.
wizard that was great, and unfortunately, it was the one session where I didn't have dynamic lighting, and
Yeah.
I mean, I can blame it on that. Um, I think I would rather blame it on that than the dice, really.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much what happened. I'm sure things would have gone way different if I still had dynamic lighting that session. It really sucks.
Well, now you have dynamic lighting.
Yes.
It's, you have it.
Yeah.
Supported by your Patreon. You
yeah.
have dynamic lighting
Yeah.
every session.
Right.
So that's not an issue anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. The
yeah.
the regular Fog of War, when you reveal stuff, it's kind of a pain to like you have to assume that everyone can see it if you reveal it to everybody,
Yeah.
because it otherwise it just doesn't make sense. And then so if everyone is aware of it, then if everyone is aware of a monster that's now revealed, then in turn it too should be aware of everyone else. And that
Yeah.
was the problem with that one session. It was supposed to be foggy. I had all the tokens set up to be able to only see a certain distance because of the fog. And it was that whole dungeon was supposed to be way different because of fog. And not having that the capability of having fog is really what screwed up that whole dungeon, and is pretty much the main reason why Lucas is dead.
I know.
Other
and
than
I hate that. Yeah.
yeah, other than
But hey,
the fact,
Calamar's going to get Lucas back from the dead. You know that. Lucas
Hopefully,
and
yeah.
Justin.
Yeah.
That's his main goal in life. Lucas,
Right.
Justin, and Lucinda are all going to be back from the dead.
yeah,
That's his number one goal. Well, his number two goal. Number one is find my one true love. And then number two is bring those people back. But it was something that, and I'm going to tell you, I'm proud of James, the way he just took it like a man. He put on his big boy britches.
Yeah.
And he just dealt with it. I mean, I
thanked him for that
role
too
player.
immediately.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, he was great. He really was.
And his new character is amazing,
Yeah.
and I really love Aaron as a new character.
So
I hope. Yeah, go ahead.
I actually gave Varen the character an experience bonus because James took that character death in stride so well.
Oh yeah, he took it like a man.
Yeah, he
I
did.
mean, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
If you know, if my main character died, I would be like
Livid.
crying like a little baby
Yeah.
girl. Yeah, I'd be a bitch about it. But he was like, "Hey, let's roll some saving throws on my items. Oh, that failed. Oh, that failed. Oh,
Yeah.
look at that success. Oh, that's a fail." You know, and then he immediately starts rolling the new character, and that's when you know you're dealing with a seasoned player who's,
Oh yeah.
you know, he's like, "Yeah, I got this. It's fine, whatever."
Yeah.
Um,
He really
but
did good.
that's part of the reason I'm so dedicated to bringing those characters back because you know that player deserves to have these characters back in the game, even if they're just NPCs, even if we don't ever, recruit them as henchmen or whatever. Those characters deserve to live
Right.
because of the, just the quality of the player who created them.
Yeah.
Even if we just leave them behind and we just move on.
Yeah.
So yeah, just because James was such a man about it, he put on his big boy britches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was
And
so impressed.
actually, the current party has the capability to bring. Wait, no, no, I forgot. There are severe
We're
limitations to
so
Raise Dead.
close.
Well, it's
We were
it's Raised Dead,
so close. Yeah.
but yeah. If Thrashim casts Resurrection, there will be side effects for Thrashim. So you
Yeah.
don't just want to resurrect somebody just because, you know.
You can. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
it's
Thrashim is such a goody two shoes. I
yeah.
could
He might
totally
just
see
do it
him
just because
sucking it
maybe.
up and taking the consequences for himself
Yeah. Plus,
because he's so, such a team player.
yeah,
He's like, yeah, I'm going to take the hit.
yeah.
I could
Plus,
totally see him doing that.
it's 700 experience points each,
Oh, dude.
so that's pretty heavy, you know.
No, he would only need to resurrect on the elf, right? Because only what's his name was an elf, and then what's his name was a
No,
human.
no, because Raised Dead, it only works within
Oh,
a
because they've
few
been
days.
dead for so long, yeah.
Yeah, so it's been weeks.
Now, if we get Beltola to be able to uplift him,
Mm-hmm.
that would help, yeah. Or a
Yeah.
wish. You know, if Calamar had a wish, that would be it. I mean, he'd bring his friends back,
Let's see.
so
I'm gonna look up that uplift spell
yeah.
and see if it allows you to memorize spells a level higher. Uplift. Fourth level priest spell.
You give Calamar a ring of wishing, we're good to go. It's fine.
Increase spellcasting ability on the priest, including additional spells per level, and use of spells beyond the caster's normal level. Okay, it does. Yeah, it says in
So
the very first line, use of spells beyond the caster's normal level.
nice. Is she at the point where she can uplift yet, or is it still she needs to level up
She
first?
has to get to level 7 priest in order to cast a 4th level spell. So I don't know what level she is.
I don't either. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a great story once and again a storytelling component because these were our compatriots. We bring them back. Whatever happens from there on is their story, but
Mm-hmm.
we've lived our part of the story, which is the faithfulness to our compatriots who were good friends of ours. And I just feel like that's something that's great. We've had members leave us,
Uh huh.
just for whatever. Yeah, I'm just gonna go now, bye. And just like walk off. But
Right.
here's somebody who died for us. I mean, this is a totally different story, and it's like we can't just leave them dead. I'm sorry, we just can't. So that's something that Calamar, for the rest of his player character life, he's gonna be devoted to bringing them back. So whatever it takes, that's what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've met the guy. So,
Right.
but I think that that's something that everybody, it would be a really dramatic moment, just like that
Oh
moment
yeah,
with the birth of the Minicalf was a really dramatic moment. There are just
definitely.
some moments where everybody sits back and goes, "Whoa, that just happened." So, um, but yeah, I like the way that you allow us the freedom in our characters to just make those kind of decisions. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna do whatever it takes to bring my friends back.
Right.
And and I'm gonna dedicate my life to that. And you're like, go do it. Go on,
Right.
do your thing, dog. Go do it. So yeah, absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to go to bed now though, because it is freaking 11 o'clock, and I have to teach the little humans in the morning.
Yep.
Yeah, it sucks though. This was good because it was very informative for me getting your opinions as a DM and just
Right.
kind of, weighing it into my own mind as I learn how to DM, like what are the things I should weigh to make sure that the campaign is balanced, the campaign is fair, to make sure the
Hmm.
campaign is interesting,
Right.
that each character is invested, and because that's what brings people back every week is the investment in the character.
Right.
Yeah. So I really appreciate this. I'm glad we had a chance to do this.
Yeah. I had a great time, and I'm taking a look at Advanced Fog of War right now, and it's pretty awesome.
I cannot. That's just going to be so sick when we get a chance to see it. I cannot wait
Yeah. It's
because that would have let us find that last chest in the
yeah.
Sewers of Gronar that we
Kinda.
didn't
Yeah.
find.
Yep. Yeah.
That
Because
would have let us find it.
you would see this one little black rectangle on the whole map,
Yes.
and you'd be like, "What's
Hey,
in there?"
somebody needs
And
to go
then
down there. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I know that was the one chest that had all the magical weapons and the magical armor in it. Yeah, I just know it. I just know it.
Wait, you guys got two suits
We
of
were
magical armor out of
Oh
there,
my
and I
god. We were
think
so rich at the end of that. I
there
have
was
no
a
reason.
magic spear and a
Yes.
magic longsword or something.
And art objects out the wazoo.
Oh,
Plus we got the whole library
um
out of yes. We were
and
so
a
and
horseman's flail +4
oh my god.
that
Yeah.
Thrasham ended up getting because no one else took it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take that, whatever. But still, I know that chest was the one. That was the grail. That was the one because that's the one we didn't find.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever party comes along later and finds it, they can be so happy.
Mm-hmm.
They can be like, "Hey, why do we look what's in here? Yay!" It's fine. We got. Like I said, we became rich beyond our wildest dreams.
Yeah.
You have a whole wizard's library now.
Yep.
And so we have no reasons to complain. So
From a lich,
anyway,
no less.
yeah, from a freaking lich.
Yeah.
So alrighty, I have the hiccups. Dang it. I'm not gonna be able to sleep because of these damn hiccups.
I think the Fiesta Resistance of the whole spell collection though is Certain's spell immunity. That spell is freaking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should really read up on that spell because
Oh,
it's
next week when we're doing our spell exchange, Calamar's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 copy spells. Because he memorized the what is that, mnemonic enhancer or whatever?
yeah, Rare's
Spell
mnemonic enhancer.
twice,
Nice.
plus copy. Yeah, he had 4 first level spells. He memorized read magic twice and copy twice, and the mnemonic enhancer
Yeah.
twice. So, and he hasn't used his second read magic. Everybody else is reading magic left and right. He's like, I'm gonna hold up, till everybody's done reading, and somebody goes, "Holy crap!" Then I'm gonna cast my read magic. You know?
Yeah. Is
And
that
then I'm
is
gonna read
Rary's
that.
is that a level 4 spell?
Yeah, it's a level 4. And
And
remember he just leveled up to level 8, so he actually had 2 of those level 4 spells. But it allows him to memorize 3 spell levels
okay, so you do lose one
lower than,
spell level.
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, so he can memorize 3 first level spells from the 4th level spell. He could have memorized instead, lightning bolt or, something else you cast that 4th level spell, you get 3 lower spell levels.
Yeah.
He just chose to use them all on copy. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
That's actually
that's what we're up to right now. That's what we're doing.
there aren't very many interesting 4th level wizard spells, so that's a really really good trade.
Well, the thing is, I was trading with Azuro, and I wrote to Dale, and I'm like, what do you recommend that I choose? And he recommended 3 spells, and one of which was that one. And I'm
Mhm.
like, that's the one I want.
Yeah.
Because I could just see the potential in that spell.
Yeah.
It allows me so much versatility in what I'm choosing in my spell levels.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's the one I chose.
I mean,
But I know trading with Azuro is not a guaranteed thing. So like if I'm getting a spell from Azuro, I wanted it to count. So that's why I asked him, what do you recommend that I choose as a fourth level spell?
yeah. I'm actually surprised that Azuro doesn't use this spell to give himself like 20 more magic missile spells cuz
Jeez Louise, are you serious? Like he
well,
could just slaughter everything.
I know cuz every one of his magic missile spells would be 5 more missiles.
I know, it's
So
ridiculous.
he
Well,
could
one of the things I do want to do with my copy spell is now that I've leveled up to level 8 mages, I want to try. Remember, I tried to learn Stone Skin and I failed.
yeah.
So I want to try to learn that again.
Yeah.
And then if I do, then, at least Calamar will be protected by Stone Skin. And maybe somebody else. I might use both of those spell slots for Stone Skin. I don't know. But, I just feel like Calamar twice now. Twice! Twice has given up his stone skin for somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, because somebody else needed it more than he did. And now he's like, oh, hell no. I'm going to cast stone skin on my sorry ass self. Because,
Mhm.
I can't be taking hits. I have no hit points. Are you serious right now?
Right. Right.
But he's like, oh no, totally. You should give it to Thalion. Thalion's up front. I can hide in the back. It's totally fine. And I'm myself. I'm like, are you stupid? Keep the stone skin. Shannon, I'm like, no, don't do it. Calamar's like, no, totally. Give it to Thalion. It's fine. So I've got to learn that spell. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
can cast it on
hopefully.
myself. If
You can
nothing
keep a
else, yeah.
lot of other party members alive with that spell too, because currently there's only 2 group members that have that spell, and they're like spreading it really thin.
Yeah, exactly. That was my thought process too. Because even if I saved both, I have 2 fourth level spell slots. If I saved them both for Stone Skin, totally worth it.
Yeah.
Totally worth it. Because I can use the rest for all my other spells or whatever, casting my lightning bolt or whatever. And hopefully, I'm just hoping I'll get that ring. And I won't need to be saving my slots for invisibility and stuff like that, and that'll open up more possibilities for my
Yeah.
casting. Yeah, I might not get the ring. I might not. I
Did
just think I'm the logical
was
choice for it,
was it
but
was it you that put improved invisibility on the honeydew list?
was it me who did what?
That put improved invisibility on the honeydew list.
No, I do not have improved invisibility. I
Okay.
have invisibility 10-foot radius.
Because someone put improved invisibility on the honeydew list, and I made a macro for it. It was
What
a
is improved invisibility?
improved invisibility allows you to attack while
Are you
invisible.
freaking serious?
Yeah, yeah, I'm totally serious.
Now, if you're wearing a ring, okay, let me just give you a hypothetical, Josh. Just a hypothetical.
Uh huh.
If you're wearing a ring of invisibility and you attack, do you remain invisible?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Let me check. Let's see. Ring.
Okay.
Let's see.
Because it's clear to me that Calamar is the obvious choice for that ring. But we haven't identified the ring yet and we don't know it exists. Okay.
The
So
wearer of
as a
a
player,
invisibility
obviously.
ring is able to become invisible at will instantly. This non-visible state is exactly the same as the wizard invisibility spell, except that 10% of these rings have inaudibility as well, making the wearer absolutely silent. If the wearer wishes to speak, he breaks all silence features in order to do so.
Oh.
Nope. Okay, so this non-visible state is exactly the same as the wizard invisibility spell.
So when you
But
attack, it's
but
gone.
you become invisible at will instantly. So that would mean that as soon as you attack, you become visible, but you can will to become invisible again instantly.
And if you will to speak, can you become inaudible again immediately?
I suppose, yeah.
Wow.
Although inaudibility is weird because it doesn't have any technical bearing on the invisibility mechanic because the
Yeah.
invisibility spell makes you undetectable to anyone who can't see invisible creatures. You it doesn't it's weird. It's like there's a there's a way that creatures can detect invisible creatures, right? You have to be uh, level 10 or higher, and you have to have 12 or higher intelligence, and you have to pass a save versus spell to detect
Yeah.
invisible creatures, right? That's the only
Yeah.
way to detect invisible creatures.
Yeah.
So audibility, the audibility of invisible creatures has no bearing on that. There's
What
nowhere.
well, what that
So
means to me is that I don't need to worry about moving silently when I'm
yeah,
invisible.
like you don't
Yeah.
have to roll
I don't need
moves.
to worry about moving a third of my
Well,
movement
the
or any of that. Yeah.
yeah, well the thing is, you don't have to worry about moving 1/3 of your movement anyways with the invisibility spell or with all that because you're undetectable to anyone who can't detect invisible creatures, right?
Well, I assume
So
that
you
if I'm like just stomping along like a herd of buffalo along the path, stomp, stomp, stomp,
nope,
stomp,
nope.
they'll be able to hear me. Are you saying no?
I mean, there's no mechanic that says they can,
Oh, good God.
right? So
That doesn't make any sense at all.
I
That,
know, I
it
know.
doesn't.
So like you could cast invisibility on a guy in full plate mail, right?
And he just clanked down the hallway.
Well, I mean, that's what would happen in real life, but he's supposed to be undetectable by anyone who can't detect invisible creatures.
That's ridiculous, though, Josh, and you know it. Like if
It's
somebody's going clank, clank,
spells
clank, clank,
spells are
clank.
ridiculous though. Spells are ridiculous though. What would be the
Yeah, it's
point?
magic. It's magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll
What
give you
what would
that.
what would be the point of casting invisibility on someone who is wearing plate mail armor if the invisibility spell didn't do anything for them? Other than like
Yeah.
maybe buff their armor class. That's all it would do. It would just buff their armor
Well,
class
then, but then
if the
why
DM's
does
like,
it
"Oh, well they hear you
say?
because you're wearing armor."
But then why would it be a special thing to have a ring of invisibility and inaudibility?
I'm not sure. That's See, there's no mechanics.
There's no mechanic for it. Yeah.
For what inaudibility would do. All they do is give you a little description that says if the wearer wishes to speak, he breaks all silence features in order to do so. That's like,
See what the way if I were a DM, let's just say I'm DMing right. What I would interpret that to be is that you're freaking invisible, but you still make freaking noise. I mean, like they can hear you, but they can't see you. And so that means that they might hear something, but they don't necessarily know what that means or who it is or what it is or where it is. Okay, and so they might whack in your general direction, but you're invisible. So that's going to give you what, -4? They're going to give them what, -4? I'm assuming. What's the attack against invisible creatures?
-4 to hit.
I'm assuming. Yeah. But if you're inaudible, then they know nothing. It's like, hello, happy, unaware. You know, they just have no clue you're even there. You might be tromping along in your chainmail or your plate armor, tromp like a herd of buffalo, right down the hallway, and they'd be like, happy, unaware, and you can just backstab. And then after you backstab them, then it's like, oh no, I'm going to be invisible again. Bloop!
Oh, okay. No, check it out. I'm wrong. So it's under the invisibility spell. The spell causes the creature touched to vanish from sight and be undetectable by normal vision or even infravision. Of course, the invisible creature is not magically silenced, and certain other conditions can render the creature detectable.
See, like that's how I would have interpreted it, yeah.
Yeah, like
that's how I would have interpreted it. Is that like they can hear your sorry ass if you're tromping down the hallway like a herd of buffalo, yeah.
Yeah, if you're wearing plate mail, yeah, sure. I wouldn't.
Or if
I don't
you
think
have,
I would
like,
penalize.
Stomp.
I don't think I would penalize. Well, yeah, if you're sprinting, yeah. I don't think I would penalize somebody for wearing, like chainmail or anything.
No.
Anything lower than plate mail.
You don't live in my house. My husband's like, I can always hear where you are because you tromp around the house like a herd of buffalo. So like thump.
I guess the optimal person to give a ring of invisibility and inaudibility to would be someone who probably wears heavy armor and still wants to be stealthy like like thieves, to maybe sneak around a dungeon invisibly like thieves do.
I'm a thief.
Yeah.
I'm a thief. Give it to me. I'm the obvious choice. I'm the obvious choice. And Jezzy, she's already invisible. Mm-hmm. Well, you don't need to give it to her. Give it to me. I'm the obvious choice. So, but if the party chooses, I mean, Calamar, he would never fight.
Yeah.
Over anything. He just would not. If the party chooses to say, hey, Thrasham, here you go. He'd be like, yay, Thrasham! He would never argue.
I think the 3 people that wear heavy armor in the group, which is what? Thrasham, Beltola, and Scarret. Is that? Oh, and the Ranger. The Ranger can wear heavy armor. Illuvia would be a pretty good candidate too. And then who else? Who else wears heavy armor?
Hang on, let's think.
My old character, the one that died.
Thalion.
Thalion wears heavy armor.
He's a henchman.
Yeah. Thalion wears heavy armor. Dean
Are you serious? We're
going
to give a ring like this to a henchman?
Well, no. That's just like I'm just talking about people who are wearing heavy armor who would benefit from having a silenced ring and wearing heavy armor.
You're absolutely right, because Calamar can cast invisibility and he can sneak.
Yeah.
And so but for him to not have to cast the spell and for him to not have to bother to sneak, would be a high benefit for him.
Oh yeah, because then you could just like sprint around and
Backstab mofos left and right.
You could actually
it would be badass.
You could do a backstab charge
with backstab and jump and tumbling.
Yeah.
He'd be a death-dealing ninja, invisible ninja.
Yeah, because you could do a full move and jump. Wait, no, because jumping is your action.
Tumbling away after the attack so that I'm now a half move behind, so you can't come and get me. By the way, you can't attack me because I'm invisible again at will.
You're getting tumbling confused with the jump spell again.
I do that.
Yeah,
I do that.
That's what jump does, not tumbling.
I thought you told me that I could.
Tumbling mitigates falling damage. That's what that does.
You're right. Or I can choose to avoid an attack.
No, that's what jump does.
I can choose to use the entire move. I can do an entire move action and like lower my I can do an
AC,
entire round action and like lower my AC
by tumbling, and that's without moving, without doing anything else.
Without doing anything. Or you're right. I love getting those two confused.
Or you can do +2 to unarmed attacks.
Yeah,
which is really good for monks. That's what Lao Shan does whenever he gets the chance.
Hey, I might be unarmed. You never know. I could give somebody a to the back of the neck, and they could totally go down. It could happen.
Yep.
But you're always saying that Calamar doesn't know how to thief. Give him that ring. He'll thief left and right. He'll thief all day long. He'll thief today. He'll thief tomorrow. He'll thief in the back. He'll thief in the front. Oh yeah, he'll thief. He'll thief all day long. I was cracking up because I was complaining to Elena. I'm like, Josh says that I played Calamar like a fighter for weeks.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, you did. I'm like, no, I didn't. She's like, yeah, you really, really did. And I'm like, oh my God, I wasn't trying to. Oh my God. I kept trying to hide. I just kept failing, you know? I just failed every time because he was level 1. For God's sake, give him some slack. You know? Yeah. He would hide and then he would attack. And you're treating him like a fighter. I'm like, no, I hid. I totally hid.
There's no penalty for playing a thief like a fighter. It's just that he's not very effective as being played as a fighter.
But hey, he didn't die. He did not die. And
that's true.
It was so hilarious. He's like cruising in to Ramanos' shrine, and I will never forget. I was watching that session. I watched my first game session again just recently, because I just wanted to feel where Calamar was, and he has come a long freaking way. If you don't know it, he has, because he was so socially awkward, and he was so like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. But the funniest thing was the first time he ever met Thrasham's like, okay, like, be careful. There's a lot of stuff around here that could kill you, and I think there's even more dangerous stuff coming up, so maybe you should just stay back there, And, he did that, and he didn't die.
Yeah.
So, yay! I didn't die. Yay! But he has come a long way. Like, he stood up to Kiona. Tell me you weren't proud. I know you didn't give him the sword, but you tell me you weren't proud. Up to Kiona, he's like slapping his fist going, give me the sword. Come on. Put it right here. Come on. You stole Justin's sword. Put it right here. And Kieran's like, food. He should have just stopped and like given her a ration and just taken the sword. But no, he couldn't do that because it's freaking Calamar. So he has to turn to Kieran and is like, tell her to give me the sword. And she's like, no, screw you, hippie. You don't get the sword.
Well,
You don't get the
yeah, just gotta
sword.
keep it.
I'm just gonna keep it because yeah, like she stole that sword. No, she claimed it. I'm like, well, screw you, But I mean, can you imagine him doing that on day one? And when he comes up, he's like, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that
Oh
I
yeah,
exist. I just can't even."
yeah.
Mister,
I
I just
remember that.
wanted to look at the elephant. That's all I
Sorry, guys.
wanted. I just sorry. Yeah.
Sorry for looking.
I just feel like of all the characters of this entire, I haven't been here for the whole time, but over the last year of all the characters, this character has grown the most.
Oh yeah. Yep.
He's totally grown the most
Yeah.
as a person, and I'm just so proud of him. I'm just like, yes, Calamar, you go, dude. You're awesome. You can totally get out there. And when he becomes a demigod, I can't wait. I can't wait for him to like pluck the fangs out of Loth, that spider bitch, and just be like, "Oh
Hmm.
hell no! Mm-mm.
You
You
can't
ain't
have my
controlling my people.
dentures.
You can't have my people anymore. Nope." And the fact that he's like watching after Azuro like destroys the influence of Rhombus on the prime material plane, and he's like, "This, this is relevant to your interests,"
Yeah.
you know. So it's like, yeah, you want Loth off the prime material plane. You need to know this. Somewhere there's a statue of her that you're gonna have to do this to. Sometime you're gonna have to destroy her avatar. You're gonna have to piss on it, just like Scarlet did. You're gonna have to call a bunch
Hell
of
yeah.
spiders to come and eat it, and then you're gonna have to totally liquidize her statue, and then you'll be able to dance on top of it, going, "Yeah, bitches, yeah."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And okay, I have got to go to bed. Oh, good God.
Okay.
But hey, thanks, Josh. This was a fun session.
Yeah.
And anybody else, if you aren't following Josh's Twitch on Saturdays in the I guess it depends on what time zone you're in. Because for
Yeah.
me it starts at noon. For you it starts at 10.
Yes. Yeah. It starts
And
at
I
10
guess on
a.m.
the Eastern time zone it would start at 2.
I think it's 1 p.m. on
1
Eastern.
p.m.
Yeah.
You're right, because they're an hour ahead
Yeah.
of us. So, if you're not watching Josh's campaign on Saturdays, you are missing out because, oh my God, we have the most fun. You missed my bugbear character shouting out, what, at least 3 dozen terms for penis?
Yeah.
3 dozen terms for penis last Saturday.
And
Yeah.
and the proper English term for bullshit.
Yes. That is the excrement of an ungilded male bovine. Yeah. This is what happens when you learn common from Calamar. He's too proper. He's too sweet. He teaches you proper and teaches you proper common. And as well as all the slang terms for penis, like one-eyed trouser snake, baloney pony, Johnson, wiener, cock, tube steak. I mean, it was like, there were at least 3 dozen. There were at least, when the pixie steals the monk's clothes, okay, which was priceless, by the way.
Yeah.
Priceless. I hope you gave her proper XP for that, because that was priceless.
I think so, yeah. 200 points.
Yeah, and then I loved his attitude about it. He's climbing up the tree outside the window where my character is, and he's like, "Y'all looking at my wang? Look at my wang. There's my wang. It's just hanging there. Look at my wang." And my character's like, penis, pointing. Penis, wang, Johnson, ding-a-ling.
Didgeridoo.
Didgeridoo. Every like 3 dozen terms for penis.
Mm-hmm.
I was cracking up. That's the kind of fun that we have, because we have a pixie. We have a pixie in our party. And by the way, this pixie conjured, illusionary frogs. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Illusionary frogs to mess with my freaking ranger henchman who has a racial hatred against frogs.
Yep.
And my ranger did not realize they were illusions. He was like, yes! He was
That's
like
why I
ready
gave
to
XP for
bathe.
it.
Yeah. He's ready totally to bathe in the blood of the frogs. And everybody else in the party is like, tee-hee-hee, tee-hee-hee. And, you know, my two characters in there, like, killing the frogs left and right. And, you know, they don't understand why everybody's laughing. They don't understand why everybody else is going, oh, God, y'all are so funny. Oh, God. You know, it was so, and, like, he jumped out a window to chase one of those frogs. Do you remember? He was there. Yeah, he's totally going to shoot that frog in the ass.
Oh,
this illusionary frog. What, you know, I know it's illusionary. My character doesn't know it's illusionary.
Right.
In the ass. And then meanwhile, my bugbear is pointing to his illusionary wound. You know, turned by the frog.
Ow.
Going, ow! Fix it! And Thrasham's like, yeah, you're not hurt at all. And he's like, ow! He's like, no, you have no injury whatsoever. Ow!
And
you'd like
you
to
failed
think
your spell save twice.
Yes, twice.
So you totally believe the illusion forever.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, the funny thing is that part, why is he thinking this is real? But he's like, why are you not fixing it, Thrasham? You normally fix my shit. Why? You're so mean.
Yeah.
It was I was about to pee my pants the entire time on Saturday. And I know a lot of people are like, this is why we don't have downtime. I'm like, oh my God, no, this is the funniest session ever. You know, we didn't fight anything. All we were trying to do was like learn spells and stuff. But unfortunately, we had a pixie. You know, you can't just learn spells and like sit around and rest and have a nice nap time when there's a pixie.
You can't do business with a pixie around. Nope,
hey, if you don't have a pixie in your party, you need. They keep things interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have to say. So yeah, Saturday at 10 Pacific. What is that, Pacific?
10 Pacific, 1 Eastern.
10 Pacific, 1 Eastern, or noon here in the Central Time where the civilized people live.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah. No, I live in Louisiana.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very, very close to Texas, though.
Yeah.
I'm in the Arklatex. Yeah. Huh. Like, I'm just like 30 minutes from Texas. It's fine. This is really Texas culture more than Louisiana culture, which is good for me, actually. Because Louisiana culture, like down south where New Orleans is, no, that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm more Texas.
Really scuzzy.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm really more Texas culture than I am Louisiana culture.
Yeah, it's really needly down there.
Yeah, it's real. No, up here though, Shreveport, Bossier area, it's lovely. If you want to come on down. We have casinos.
Yeah.
And the second most liberal liquor laws in the country, second only to Nevada.
Really?
There you go. All right. So thanks, guys.
All right. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Bye, guys.
Bye.